My kako, it is 7 o'clock, so if we could bring ourselves to our seats, that would be greatly appreciated as we get started. Mahalo, gang. All right. Mahalo nui kako. Thank you folks for joining us this evening. This is the Waimanalo Neighborhood Board, number 32, in person and hybrid online on WebEx. Regular monthly meeting. We are rescheduled to Tuesday due to scheduling conflicts with our site, but typically it's on the second Monday of the evenings of the month, excuse me, at 7 p.m. So we're going to call the order at 7 o'clock and we'll get started. Chair Kimiona Kane, happy to welcome the conversations this evening. We look forward to the participation and the discussions here, both in person as well as through our online WebEx family. The purpose of the neighborhood boards and the neighborhood board plan is to increase and assure effective citizen participation in the decisions of government. Rules for engaging are very simple. Anyone wishing to speak is asked to click the raise hand icon if you are online. When recognized by myself, the chair, to address your comments to myself, remarks should not exceed 3 minutes. Please ensure your microphone is muted unless you are speaking. You can mute and unmute for those dialing in on phone by pressing *6. Very important reminder, please state your first and last name for the record before moving into your comment or questions. Written testimony may also be submitted via email using the contact information listed on the Neighborhood Commission Office website. We are a functioning board with Aloha. We truly hold ourselves accountable to that, recognizing the difficulty of some of the conversations that we have. So akahai, meaning kindness to be expressed with tenderness. Lokahi, meaning unity to be expressed with harmony. Olu olu, meaning agreeability to be expressed with pleasantry. Ha'aha'a, meaning humility to be expressed with modesty. And ahonui, meaning patience to be expressed with perseverance in accordance with Hawaii Revised Statutes, Chapter 5. A very important aspect of our board is recognizing the role in which we function. The board may not take action on any agenda, or may take action, excuse me, on any agenda as required by the State Sunshine Law, HRS 92. Specific instructions or issues not noted on the agenda cannot be voted on unless added to said agenda. 2/3 vote, 9 out of 13 members of this board is needed to add an item to the agenda. Doing so is not permitted. 1, if the item to be added is of reasonable major importance, and 2, if the item by the board will affect a significant number of persons. Determination of whether a specific matter may be agendized or added to the agenda will be done on a case-by-case basis. Please silence all electronic devices. This meeting is being recorded for future presentation and availability to the public. For members that are online, when we do go into voting, the expectation is that you folks do turn on your camera. So that's what we'll do for now. For those of us that are in person, we have emergency exits here to my left. We have an emergency exit right out the door here to your folks' immediate right and then left. Restrooms are out the door to this part, and we are on a school, so no smoking, no alcohol, none of those behaviors here. And we want to be mindful of our neighbors, so as soon as we leave this evening, we want to ask that everyone depart the school grounds immediately. With that being said, we're going to ask someone to open in Pule or Oli. Do we have anyone here that wants to open in Pule? Kanala, can you open us in Pule? Mahalo for being here. Ikino? Yeah. Whatever way you want to. Right here at the mic and introduce yourself. Mahalo.
Aloha, my name is Kanala. Mahalo. Bow your heads, close your eyes. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you for bringing our members and our stakeholders and our people here together to help support and build a stronger community, build resiliency and advocacy. We ask that we please watch over us, guide us, and protect us while we're here in the meeting as well as we go and travel home. Thank you for everything you all do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Mahalo Kanala. Thank you for welcoming us in this evening. We're going to do a roll call. Members, when your name is called, please respond. Also, if you can, again, turn on your cameras for this as well. We'll turn it over to our secretary, our assistant, Rachel. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with Gramberg. And then we have Connor in person. And then
Hill, present.
thank you. McKay. I think I've seen her on virtual. Yeah, I do see her. Okay, she's online. And then Milan. Mokulehua. Ni. Okay, I see you online as well. Walston. Rudelix. Wong.
Hail.
Thank you. Online. Santiago. And Kamakia Ohelo. Okay. So with that, we have 4 board members present. We don't make the quorum, so we need 7 for that.
Mahalo. Thank you so much, Rachel. I know we have a few that's on the way. Ted Ralston just showed up online. Ted, can you check your audio, check in real quick? And then I have a few folks that are on their way. So when we do receive quorum, we'll be able to acknowledge that and then take board action. So, mahalo.
Hail.
Thank you so much, Joe. Mahalo. Thank you, Ted. We're going to move on. Do we have any messages from our kupuna? We've created and carved out time and priority for our kupuna to address the community. And this is a time for them to do so in whatever fashion that they feel necessary to hear our voice, hear their voice in this community. Do we have any kupuna online or any kupuna here that want to do so at this time? Okay, hearing none, we will continue to keep a space there. As a result of that, we've been reading in the absence of our current kupuna voices, we've been reading from sites of Oahu. And so we're going to read the next passage in there, which speaks to Kalua Opele. Kalua Opele is above Puha. It is an old crater called Kalua Opele, or Pele's pit. Pele dug here long ago and gave it up when she came to water. Much pololo clay was found here, and Alona remembered seeing the women come to get it to rub it into their scalps before going to the sea. The clay was washed out in seawater. The scalps were very clean, free of dandruff, and the hair grew long and thick. This was by the informant Charles Alona, informant of September 22nd, 1939. And so we mahalo this kupuna for helping us to reconnect to times that are not currently available to us today. So we'll move on. Olelo No'ea of the month. Ai Kamanu Iluna, number 3 in our Olelo No'ea book. The birds feed from above. An attractive person is compared to a flower-laden tree that attracts the birds. Again, Olelo No'ea number 3. Ai Kamanu Iluna. We mahalo again our kupuna who have noted those comparisons in a way to teach us and educate us about our ecosystems and our spaces here. We're going to move on, gang, to emergency providers. We have Honolulu Fire Department here this evening. We welcome our folks here. Thank you guys for making time this evening.
Hi, good evening, Chair Kane, members of the board, members of the community. I'm Firefighter 3, Adam Rose from the Waimanalo Fire Station. I'm here to deliver the statistics for the month of August. Last month, we have no follow-up from last month, so I'll move on to the statistics from August. During August, the Waimanalo Fire Station responded to 1 structure fire, 1 wildland brush fire, and 1 nuisance fire. We also responded to 44 medical emergencies, 1 motor vehicle collision with a pedestrian, and 1 motor vehicle collision. The fire safety tip for the month is move over for emergency vehicles. So drive with caution and obey all traffic laws, including the move over law, to help protect our first responders while performing their duties near or on a roadway. This is more than a public courtesy, it's the law. Hawaii Revised Statute 291C27 requires a driver of a vehicle that is approaching an emergency vehicle that is stopped for an emergency, investigation of a possible traffic violation, rendering assistance to a police officer or other official duties as indicated by the flashing emergency lights of the stopped emergency vehicle shall 1. Slow down to a reasonable and prudent speed that is safe under the circumstances of an emergency road situation ahead. If necessary, the driver shall come to a complete stop before making a lane change under paragraph 2. And 2, make a lane change into the adjacent lane if necessary, and if it is safe to do so, or if possible, to 2 lanes over, which leaves 1 lane between the driver and the emergency vehicle. Note, emergency vehicle means police, fire, EMS, ocean safety, freeway safety patrol, tow trucks, and even some state and county vehicles while personnel are working. Any questions?
Any questions from the board for Honolulu Fire Department? Seeing none online. Anyone from the community? Canela, please. You got to come to the mic, babe. Yeah. Yes. We have to put you on camera. We have to get your voice, and you got to introduce yourself every single time. Mahalo.
Hi, I'm Canela. So my question was, I got my driver's license in 2011. Are those information in the newest driving manuals that we have to like study? Because like my kids are about to get their permits, and like if they don't really know like the steps on how to merge, because I guess my question is that in our driving manual?
Mahalo for the question.
Thank you for the question. I'm not sure what exactly is in the driving manuals, but I will look into that. And then when we come back next month, we'll have the answer for you.
Mahalo, Canela. Seeing no other questions for the community, we have an introduction? No? You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mahalo. Thank you for being here, gentlemen. Thank you for your service. We're going to move on to our Honolulu Police Department. Mahalo for being here, gentlemen. Thank you, sir.
Hello and good evening. My name is Lieutenant Drew Akagi. I'm the lieutenant for District 4, which encompasses Waimanalo. This is Sergeant Michael Greco. He's the sergeant in charge of the Waimanalo district. Go over the stats for the month of August. We had 1 motor vehicle theft in the month of August compared to 3 the previous month. We had 3 burglaries in the month of August compared to 0 the previous month. We had 2 thefts in the month of August compared to 12 the previous month. We had 1 motor vehicle break-in in August compared to 0 the previous month. And we had 0 robberies this month compared to 2 robberies the previous month. Just to go over some safety tips for the community. Car break-ins are common. It happens a lot here and there all over the island. Most of these crimes, I just want to let you guys know, there's crimes of opportunities. These guys are coming and seeing if, looking in the cars and looking for a bag, purse, valuables that may have been left in your car. If at all possible, try to secure these within your residence when you go, or if you got it, put them in the trunk. Because what these people do is they smash the window, they grab the bag, and they're gone. It happens, takes less than 30 seconds, and everything's gone. So just be aware of your valuables. Try to keep them with you at all times and store them in a secure place. Other than that, any questions from board or committee?
Lieutenant, thank you so much. Sergeant, thank you for being here, gentlemen. Questions from the board? HPD? Seeing none online. Anyone? Oh, Brenda Wong.
Yes, I'm also the chair of the Waimanalo Parks and Rec Committee here. And we've had people that try to call the police to help with things like commercial activity on the beach, because there's the law about no commercial activity. And then also trying to get the police to help them get their vehicles off the sand. So if you could just mention it to those that are around here, we could definitely use more help. When we call, a friend was saying that she had to wait for an hour for a non-emergency dispatch, and by then it was like too late. So just wanted to say that.
Mahalo, thank you for that. Mr. Ralston, you have something to add?
I do. I was. Thank you for bringing that up, Brenda. And it triggers my memory. We've had quite an increase in weddings on the beach, at least in the Pu'uone right-of-way area. I think there was one every weekend. The last one was probably 50 people. These are clearly commercial weddings, but they may be skating by the rules by the way they have the wedding participants actually involved with carrying some of the commercial gear down to the beach. Anyway, it just seems that the HPD needs to be clearly instructed and advised on what the rules are in this sort of thing. I know we did call on the last one, and 3 showed up, but no action taken. So there's some disconnect between what the intention of the no commercial activity rule is and what's actually happening and how it's all being enforced.
Mahalo, Ted. Lieutenant, any thoughts on that?
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. And we'll definitely bring it up with our community policing team, our day watch operations. And we can pretty much do similar to what we do in Kailua to curb the commercial businesses on the beach. We'll definitely bring it up.
Mahalo, I appreciate that. I do want to, how do we find the reporting on that? I want to ask if we can talk about that on a regular when we do come to the board, if there can be some reports on what's happening. I know one of the other issues we've had is just vehicles on the beach. And, we've asked the community policing teams over several times, and I know Officer Atkins is no longer in a district, but if you folks are going to be appearing here, how do we, we've asked them to address those that are parking on the sand. And so there's been a complete, there's been an improvement there, and I want to appreciate that. I'm just wondering if there's citations or are we just warning people? Can there be a report on what those citations might look like, or is that just go look it up online?
We can, what area are you talking about exactly?
Waimanalo Beach Park.
The beach park. Okay. I can look that up for you and then see what's being done. I don't have that answer whether citations or warnings are being given, but I could get that to you the next.
Additionally, I would add Punananiho. That's where our main issues have been with people accessing the beach. And so there's some challenges in obviously who has jurisdiction over that. And then HPD gives us one story and state gives us, and then the military, they're on here as well. So there are additional, inputs that we want to talk about. That would be helpful.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Councilmember, you had a thought? We got to come all the way over here, please, if you don't mind. And then just for the record, I want to acknowledge Lulu Lourdes Milan at 7:15. Thank you. And then Moyata at 7:09. Councilmember.
Yes, Chair, as you know, because I know you sent several of us pictures, including Representative Martin and Senator Lee. So part of the challenge is that the Department of Land and Natural Resources for the state has not aligned with the city ordinance. So I have been trying to get the chair, Don Chang, to align so that their land division could take off the wiki permits online. That is in discussion. So therein lies the challenge. And so what I'm recommending is while that is still pending, I asked for your kokua to call DLNR's DoCare and say, this is the problem. Very difficult for us to enforce because we have a prohibition of commercial activities on the city parks, but we don't have that prohibition on the beaches. Therein lies the challenge, right? But if you could ask them that, because I do know that the land administrator was on that thread. We're dealing with it, very, very difficult. So it's nobody's fault. The fact is, if they're able to show that they have a wiki permit, then it's legal. But a lot of them don't. And so, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you, Councilmember. Chair, may I ask if you can take a note of that and take that back to the governors as part of the governor's report? If we might, find a way to follow up with DoCare and specifically Chair Chang to think about how we might progress that. That would be appreciated. Thank you. Lieutenant, anything else you wanted to add?
No, unless anything else from you folks?
Lulu, you had a hand up. Mr. Ralston, your hand up.
Yes, another thought, you mentioned the driving on the beach at the beach park. Actually, driving on the beach extends all the way down to Aloy Loy area. That is, people enter at the beach park and then drive all the way along. And sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning, you never know. So there's a lot of beach traffic down there. It's not just in front of the beach park.
Thank you. I do have a question, Lieutenant, if we may. We see a lot of, especially now, there's, sorry, can we mute whoever that is? Thank you. There's a lot of motorcyclists, right? There's a lot of dirt bikes happening a lot. And then more recently, we've seen at the county level some efforts to kind of address some of the e-bikes. Are there rules or ordinance on helmet wearing at a minimum for these folks?
For the dirt bikes and motorcycles,
Particularly those that are riding on our streets, right? And riding across our beaches and parks.
the motorcycle itself is illegal to the dirt bikes on the road. That would be the problem. law
Okay.
enforcement.
Okay.
Even the e-bikes, there's rules on the e-bikes as far as juveniles. and-
Mhm. Okay. I appreciate it. And then I think just for our learning, what is the district's needs as far as staffing?
Currently, we run anywhere between 17 to 20 officers a night. I think daytime is so similar to right around there.
Any folks have any openings or vacancies?
For nighttime, I can tell you we have at least 3 officers every night in Waimanalo with four beats, so 1 open.
Yeah, we definitely want to stay abreast of what the needs are in the event that we might need to advocate for more staffing. We'd really appreciate if in the future, maybe, you know, we'll align and figure out what the HPD pushouts are after each class. That would be good to have some conversations around as well.
No problem. I'm glad you guys bring up the beach thing. You know, the officers have spoken to us about maybe bringing the ATVs out here. The problem with that is we take all the officers from the Waimanalo area, and then we cannot do that. So we got to try and find ulterior methods to maybe get the ATVs or something like that, because we do have to trailer them out here and all the way. So the officers are trying to come up with ideas.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
we'll continue to look forward to planning and working with you folks and address the things that are needed. Thank you guys for being here. Mahalo.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you. All right, gang, we're gonna move on. We have filling of board vacancies that we're gonna look into. We have a sub-district 9, Old Homestead and Beach Homes to Makapu'u. Do we have any recommended people for that particular vacancy? Anyone online? For sub-district 9, Old Homestead and Beach Homes to Makapu'u. Hearing and seeing none. Do we have anyone for vacancy in sub-district 11, Hale'opuni? Hale'opuni. And then, Kanala, I think to your point, I think where you are at is a part of the village. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hearing none, we do want to advise if there are any interested parties that might be looking to serve on the neighborhood board, Sub-District 9, Old Homestead and Beach Homes to Makapu'u, as well as Sub-District 11, Hale'opuni. We'd greatly appreciate you stepping up. And if you have any questions, please reach out to any of our board members. We'll be happy to make time for your learning. Thank you. Filling of committee vacancies. This has been something that has been open for some time. Tonight, I want us to address it. We have several board members that are currently not on a committee. If that is you this evening, I would like you to select which committee you want to serve on. As you might know, we have several committees that are working actively to serve the Waimanalo community in various ways. And if we can fill that with you folks this evening, I would prefer to do that. And then we can open up absolutely more to community members that might have interest. And so Hawaiian Affairs and Natural Resources Committee, there is one vacancy. I will address this to any of our board members that are not currently assigned to a committee. If this interests you, would you be so kind as to make yourself known? Okay, hearing none, we will continue to address that in ways within our community and find out if we can fill that vacancy. We have an addition. Yeah, I think so. I think you're on every committee. Nah. Kuike Kamakeo, hello, 7:20. Mahalo for being here. That should bring us to quorum, if I'm not mistaken, Rachel. We can double check.
So I checked and we have 8 members present.
Perfect. Mahalo, mahalo everybody for making time this evening. We do have Waimanalo Community Plan Committee. There is one vacancy there. Anyone that's not currently serving would like to step into that? And please let me know if you need me to call your name as far as those that are not assigned currently. Yep. Okay, we're going to move on. We'll look to fill that as well with community. And then we have Education Committee. There's 3 vacancies here. Cappy, is this one you wanted to serve on?
I'll go on one. I'll go on.
And then Jenna, what interests you, Jenna? Okay, when you do get connected again, Jenna, please let me know. We want you to take a look at those 3 options, and then we'll push the rest of the board members that are not currently serving in that capacity. Yep, Kuike?
How much members of that committee?
I think there's 7 in education.
All right, so you guys already have. Okay. So my question to Chair was, how much seats are on that committee? How large is the member body of that committee?
Yeah, for education, it's 7. There's 7 members on that committee
All right,
currently.
so you guys have quorum then?
We have 4 if everyone shows up, yeah.
Okay, mahalo. Do you need one more?
So Cappy is gonna fill one. Jenna, have you have any interest in any of those?
Hello, sorry, my internet is going in and out, but only when you talk.
Okay.
I'll do the Waimanalo Community Plan Committee.
Okay. Mahalo. You wanted to finish a thought?
Just a question. These vacancies, are they identified as vacancies for the Greater Waimanalo Neighborhood Board members? Or can these vacancies also be filled with community members?
They can be filled with both.
Okay,
Yeah.
no. Mahalo, I yield back.
Mahalo. So I appreciate, just to clarify and confirm, we have Jenna with the Waimanalo Community Plan and then Cappy with the Education Committee. So we'll have 2 committee vacancies still available for education. And then we will look at filling the Hawaiian Affairs and Natural Resources Committee as well. Okay, perfect. So if there are public members that would like to participate in these, please come to those meetings so that we can get you onto the charter and then we can bring that back to the community, the neighborhood board. I do want to get these vacancies filled quickly so that we can take action on the things that are represented there. Yeah. So mahalo for everybody's service there. We're going to continue to move on. Public agencies reports. We have Board of Water Supply. Danny? Is Danielle here from Board of Water Supply?
Hi, good
Dan-
evening.
Good evening. Mahalo. Thank you for your time. We look forward to your report.
Hi. So for the month of for the month of August, there was one water main break. There was a 6-inch water main break on Hihimanu Street, and this pipe was installed in 1950. And for the message from the board, please join the board for their annual Imagine a Day Without Water event. This is held on Saturday, September 28th from 10 to 2 at Kapolei Regional Park. Please join the board, water supply, with various city and state and community agencies and organizations for a day full of activities that focus on the value of water, interactive exhibits, also including the water rain barrel workshop and giveaways, xeriscape plant craft activities, succulent mini plant workshops. And there's also will be food, food for purchase. Admission is free. More information can be found at borderwatersupply.com. And the Kapolei Park is, yeah, I know it's out of area, but it is kind of a fun event. I went once before. It's on Manawai Street on Kapolei side. Any questions?
Danny, thank you so very much for the report. Mahalo for making time to be here this evening. Members, questions for the Board of Water Supply? Okay, anyone from the public? Hearing none. Danny, I have a few questions, if I might.
Yeah,
In the news
go ahead.
recently, there was an article that highlighted new development of a hotel in Eva. How is the Board of Water Supply going to be supporting this new development with regards to its water? And does the Board of Water Supply have a stance on what type of developments can take place? You know, HICO currently has some kind of outline and metrics. Does the Board of Water Supply have something similar?
Okay, I will ask. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate. I'm concerned. There's a
Mhm.
lot of movement of water that moves from one side of the island to another, and until we start to get a grip on that, especially with some of our water wells going down, in my honest opinion, I don't know that we'll ever get the pressure that used to fill our streams and the pressure that used to fill our springs. We will never get that water back. And so there's impacts there that are not being recognized, I think, in some of these plannings with some of these developers. And I want to address that. I want to see if Board of Water Supply has a way for us to help with that. If not here, then through the Commission of Water Resource Management. The second thing, if I might ask, is, recognizing that Department of Land and Natural Resources holds kuleana to our watersheds. However, Board of Water Supply also has kuleana there. Can we bring someone from Board of Water Supply to speak to the health and wellness of our watersheds? We have, as I'm sure you might know, we have a significant amount of invasive species that are impacting our community, particularly in areas that are beyond the community and our reach. And so while our, state folks are trying to work diligently to come to an understanding, I feel like there is kuleana that Board of Water Supply needs to be in those conversations. And if they are, great. If they are not, can we bring someone to talk to how they participate in some of the collaboration that's necessary to get ahead of some of these challenges? So I'm not sure who that might be, but if there is someone that could speak to that at our next meeting, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Okay, that's great questions. Okay, I will get on this and get
Okay,
back to you.
mahalo. And we have Kuike Kamakau. Hello.
Mahalo, Chair. Mahalo, Danielle. This is Kuike.
Hi.
I have a question, and maybe if you cannot answer it tonight, if you can go inquire or invite whomever may have the capacity to answer this question. When was the last times the sustainable daily draws on aquifers updated?
Oh, okay.
And are you able to answer that tonight?
No, I do not know, but I'm noting all these questions and I'm gonna get back. Get that.
I appreciate that. And then I have one more follow-up question, Chair, if you would
Please.
entertain it.
Please.
Okay, mahalo, Danielle. So to expand on what Chair Chair Kane just asked and cited an article, I also saw most recently an additional article that talked about potentially shutting down more wells, more CWS wells because of the underground plume from the Red Hill disaster. Maybe affecting more aquifers down the line. Now, the reason why I asked my first question is because as we start to learn more about the movement or the underground movement and aquifers about this plume that may be poisoning our water sources and wells, I'm very interested to revisit our question to you 2 or 3 years ago. On how is it exactly does the Board of Water Supply in the City and County of Honolulu plan on making up as far as providing water resources, fresh water, potable water resources to the residents of Oahu? And at what point in time does the Board of Water Supply or the City and County plan to come up with a prioritization of that public resource? So I apologize if that's
No. I'm just writing everything down. Got it.
yeah. And like I actually invite maybe next time, Chair, for us to have a conversation on this, if you would so entertain it. But Danielle, I really appreciate every month you deliver the monthly report to us, and I so appreciate your work. So mahalo nui. And Chair, if I may point out, I think there is a hand raise on the screen.
Mahalo.
I yield back to you, Chair.
Thank you. Yep. Lily, if
Aloha
you can
nui,
just introduce yourself. Thank you.
aloha, Lily Makaila, just a community member. I wanted to comment on what you folks just brought up. So I am aware that there were maybe a half dozen to a dozen exploratory wells that went through the environmental assessment process in calendar year 2023. And that would have been in like probably the second half of last year. The middle and the second half of last year. Those are all available and searchable online in the environmental. If you search like ERP, EA's Hawaii, then you can look at the ones that were published last year. So I believe BWS put out requests for proposals, and they got a consultant and did a bunch of exploratory wells. I know some of them were in Aiea area, and a bunch of them were, I believe, geared to see if any of those exploratory wells would be able to make up for the loss in capacity for Red Hill. So that's one avenue to kind of look at. I also know that they have Board of Water Supply has what's called a water management plan, the WMPs, and they're broken up by different sections. So the primary urban center, primary urban core watershed management plan, I believe was posted online for public review. That should be available on Board of Water Supply's website, and it does specifically address Red Hill. I don't think that the recommendations in there are comprehensive enough to actually make improvements. However, it is a place to start. And then I also wanted to bring up Kimiona, Chair, when you mentioned the proposed development in Eva, anything that happens in Eva, actually anything that takes place on Oahu, as far as groundwater wells outside of the Waianae area, is technically a groundwater management area. It's a designated groundwater management area. And so not only does it require county approval for any well permits, but it does require the CWRM approval, the Commission on Water Resource Management. And that has avenues for public input, including avenues should a resolution from the neighborhood board be submitted as testimony. I haven't seen anything agendized for discussion with CWRM on that particular item. I can keep a lookout for that. But you can also contact the secretary to see if they have a future date where they're going to be hearing that particular well permit application, because that is in the groundwater management area. So that's it.
Thank you very much, Lily, for all of that information. We definitely will take some of the recommendations that you provided and see how we might utilize our time to get ahead of some of those things. I appreciate you sharing. Mahalo. Danny, I don't see any other hands up at this time, so I want to mahalo you for your report. We look forward to the updates and the conversations to come.
Okay, we'll get back to you. Thank you, Kimiona.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your service. I think Director Thielen is running a little late this evening, so we're going to continue on with the agenda. Oh, Director, I'm so sorry, you are here. Are you prepared at this time, Director?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me? I'm working off of my phone tonight because I left my computer at another office.
Nope, we can hear you fine. Thank you so much. We look forward to your presentation.
Okay. Thank you. So, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm actually running in between meetings, so I have misplaced the mayor's report, but I think you guys received a copy of that. The newsletter for the mayor's report can be found online at honolulu.gov/mayor/newsletter. And then the Hawaii Honolulu Fire Department is putting out a monthly report online where people can do a searchable database with mapping. And so on that is at responsemapping.com. And so it's all one word, responsemapping.com. And so the Neighborhood Commission Office and the Honolulu Fire Department recommend that anybody wanting more details on the fire reports, and the earlier report may have covered this as well, you can go online and get a lot more information and do the mapping, which is very convenient. For the questions from last month, I have responses from the Park Department. There was a question about Hunananiho Beach Park concerns about repairing the fence on the left side of the parking lot or to block it with boulders, that vehicles are currently driving through that area. So DPR is working with our in-house trade section to repair the fence. Maintenance staff have been using existing stockpiled boulders to close the gaps in the fence where vehicles have been driving through. Currently, no vehicles can fit into the gaps, and the timeline for the fence repairs to be completed is late October of this year. We're also working with the Marine Corps Bellows Station to get more boulders that we would stockpile at Hunananiho and use exclusively in this park. And once we receive the boulders, we would work with the community to identify additional places to place them. We know sometimes boulders get moved by people, and so we're looking at maybe in areas where people are pretty determined to get through, to kind of double line them to make it a little more difficult. There was a question about the Waimanalo gym. What measures can be taken to support the children, such as the basketball team, when the gym is closed for repairs? The gym has been closed for repairs on 3 occasions this year. So from park staff who are working there, currently the Waimanalo District Park is offering 17 different youth classes. These classes are not scheduled for use of the gym and would not be impacted by the roofing project when that does start. So we knew the gym project was going to start in the fall and didn't set up fall classes for the gym use. Permit holders that use the gym can request, if the gym is closed or when it's closed for the construction project, use of the outdoor courts. The permit holders can also request the use of the gym and outdoor courts at Kailua District Park. The staff knew that the gym was closed one morning in the spring, so the basketball backboards could be inspected. These are the ones that raise and lower in the gymnasium. But they were not aware of any other repairs to the gym recently, but they do know that the gym did sometimes actually be closed when the weather caused leaking and it created a slippery floor. The board also asked for camping permit statistics. Can DPR provide data on the number of camping permits issued and approved in recent months? There has been an overcrowding in camping areas on the side. So the department compiled camping statistics for every single campsite that it runs on island. There are a few other campsites operated by the state park, so that's not on our list. The list that was provided in the attachment A to the board is only the parks that are managed by the City and County of Honolulu Department of Parks and Recreation. And so that includes all the parks on the island, large group campgrounds, the annual campgrounds, both the 3-day campgrounds and the 5-day campgrounds. And we do know that there has been a post-COVID increase in the number of campers that are coming out. So you have all those statistics, and then it should be posted along with the board minutes for people that are interested. There was a question also about that was going to go to the Mayor's Office of the Commission on the Arts on creating a plaque or other form of recognition about any guidelines or policies for the location for plaques or recognitions. So the Department of Parks and Recreation, a lot of people will ask for signs to be put up. There is a request to put up a sign for changing the name of a park, or sometimes there's signs for names of a field or a building. The Department of Parks and Recreation will do that. But when you see those brass plaques or statues, those are all managed by the Mayor's Office on Culture and the Arts. They did not have the opportunity to get a response back for this board meeting, but we'll work with them for a response for the next board meeting. So again, if people wanted to do changing the name of a park or putting the name of a recognition for somebody on a field or a building, they could work with the Department of Parks and Recreation or the council member to pass a resolution for a name change. When we do change the name of a park, we'd like to keep the name of the current name of the park in the name. So we may say something like the William Balfour Waipahu District Park, because Google Maps and other mapping sources will have the Waipahu District Park name in there. So we would add the name for the recognition up front, but keep their name in. So if people were searching for it, it would show up on the mapping services. And then again, we'll work with MOCA on getting a response for the plaques or other things next month. And then there was a request to the Department of Design and Construction about the Waimanalo Gymnasium timeline, about the construction dates for the Waimanalo Gym, and then the period of time the contractor will be allowed to complete the job where the gymnasium would be closed to the public. We did not get the response back from the Department of Design and Construction for this month on the timetable for the contract. And so we'll work with them on getting that for next month. But I do know at a meeting we were discussing today that the recreation building project, they are doing the final work on that. It should be done, the final work next week, and then the paperwork would need to be done to turn the project over to the park department. We have asked DDC to not start the gymnasium project or close that until the other building is open, so that the community has access to one building at least at all times. So they're holding off on starting the gymnasium project. As soon as that other project is completed and turned over to DPR, at that point, the contractor would be given notice that they could start the gymnasium project. And then we'll get back to you next month on the timetable for the construction. And then with that, I'd be happy to take any other questions, and if I can, I'll try to answer them.
Director, thank you so very much for going over the report and then providing the information that was requested. I recognize that we do have some challenges with regards to the current Gabby Pops Pahinui Pavilion situation, and we are still trying to navigate that. I do want to bring attention to Mr. Ralston for kind of spearheading some of our responses on behalf of our board, and recognize that we still have some ways to go in that direction. I don't want to put a significant amount of time into tonight's meeting for that, but you are aware of our concerns in that process. Our council member has also been a part of those discussions and is aware of our concerns of that process. Recognizing that, I'm going to ask any of our board members if there's any questions for the office of the mayor at this point in time. Kuike? No? Okay. I don't see any hands online. Does anyone from the public have any questions for the mayor's office? Okay, seeing no hands. Fortunately for everyone, I have a lot. So, Director, I'm very concerned that the campground information that was provided, it does not, well, what it does prove is an inequity. Our community has 50 campsites at just Bellows. We have 10 at Waimanalo and 10 at Hunananiho. That's 70 campsites listed here available to the public. 70. Yeah. The nearest community in terms of campgrounds is 22 at Kea'au. Just doing a little bit of math, I'm not the smartest out in our Waianae community. Yeah. If you take the total that's listed, and again, this is not a super like in-depth data pool, but I counted 167 available campsites across these locations, 70 of which are here in Waimanalo, accounting for 42% of all camping. I'm extremely bothered by that number, and I don't have a response yet to that, but I assure the mayor's office that we're going to try and work on that. That inequity is absurd to me. Our community is already struggling to maintain public spaces for just our regular community, let alone opening up camping in this kind of amount. And so I really want to urge maybe a revisit at some point in a conversation with the campground staff and try to think about what might be available. I recognize that Bellows is a larger camping area. But if we're going to have the largest amount of campsites across the entire island, we better have the staff to support it. And right now, the resources are little. They're slim. The facilities are struggling. The ecosystem itself, Director, I would love to host you on a weekend, especially a holiday weekend, and let's take a drive through there. There are cars parked in every crook and cranny of that shoreline. And it calls attention to the struggles of us trying to reestablish a healthy sand dune ecosystem, one of which is known to this community because we have the longest stretch of white sand beach available to nesting for ua'ukani. And so we have no safeguards and mitigation opportunities to address a destruction of habitat for one of our federally listed bird species. And that concerns me. We have depended heavily on the Department of Defense, and I don't want to toot their horn, but they've done probably some of the most progressive work to restore sand dunes in our community. Now that doesn't, where's our major? Don't take that too heart, too big, yeah, major. We still have issues, bro. But the work that's been done there significantly recognizes that there is a lack coming from the city. If we are just looking at it from this one lens and perspective, Director, and I'm concerned about that. So I'd love for us to have a discussion on that and take a look at what opportunities there might be there. I welcome any of our community members to chime in on that at a future time too. Kuike?
Mahalo, Chair, for, if I may just expound on that.
Please.
So the point that you bring up, Chair, about inequity, I just want to remind us, that when we talk about the stretch of white sand beach in Waimanalo, all of its quote unquote ceded lands. When we talk about the stretch of white sand beach in Waimanalo, much of it, if not all of it, is DHHL. So when you bring up the point about inequity, Chair, it really just pulls at my heart, because these lands, these spaces, these beaches were set aside for the beneficiaries of the Hawaiian Host Commissions Act of 1921. These lands, these spaces, these beaches were set aside from the Public Land Trust in 1959, the Admissions Act, for Native Hawaiians. So Native Hawaiians could have their own space to be Native Hawaiian. And the fact that these spaces are open to the general public 365 days out of the year screams inequity, because no space is set aside for Native Hawaiians today. So when you mention that 42% of the burden of the city and county's campgrounds is in Waimanalo, and second to that number is at Kea'au, which I will remind you is also ceded lands, which I will remind you is also in the Native Hawaiian community. The inequity is very visible. And so I just kind of, it just hurts, to be reminded. And I want to recognize and acknowledge the director, Director Thielen, for always being open, for always receiving our comments and questions. And at some point, we got to put our feelings into words, Chair, and then we got to put our words into action. So I hope and invite Director Thielen and the representative of the mayor to sit at the table with us so we can figure out what the future looks like, because this ain't it. Chair, I mahalo you for entertaining my comment. I yield back to you.
Mahalo, Kuike. Recognizing Brenda Wong online. Brenda?
Thank you. Thank you, Kimiona and Kuike, and it just brings to mind some practical things. I had a good chat with 3 of the groundskeeper who work for Parks and Rec, and they're carrying all the garbage from all over the beach with wheelbarrows, or friends are helping them with their trucks. They're asking for more help. They need a vehicle, and they need help from the city and county to help with all this huge space that they have to collect garbage. There's not any, they don't even have a way to get the garbage to the road, except for they have to carry it. The other thing is, we're talking about the lock. If you could provide a log of when the lock has been repaired. I know we've talked about this for many meetings, but if you could give us a log of when they have replaced the lock each time. And the groundskeepers were saying that, they have a lock at Maulai Kahana at the state park, and no one seems to be breaking it down. Maybe we could learn from them. What is that lock that they use? Because that gate not being closed at Hunananiho is just a wide door for bad things to happen at night, in and out, which affects the whole ecosystem of all of the beaches and everything. So I just wanted to add in that the groundskeeper are calling for help, including just a simple thing as a vehicle. And they said they were promised a vehicle if they had a space. And they said that they have a space in between one of those bathrooms. There's a middle spot for a vehicle, and they had a vehicle way back then when there was a groundskeeper that lived there. So these are just practical things, but I think Kimiona and Kuike are also asking the bigger questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Director, I don't think we necessarily need a response right here, right now, but definitely want us to have this conversation. Additionally, I just want to bring up two things that are, I guess, pertinent to the mayor's office. We have HPD that responds and we have HFD that comes to the meetings. Do we have any way to get response or a report from EMS? And if that is, who do we invite on that behalf? Because we don't hear their information, and I think there's some really important things for us to think about there as far as statistics, which would be super helpful. And then lastly, I took a trip to our botanical garden here at Kohelapilape, and I know it's the summertime. Can we get a report back on how our botanical gardens across Oahu are doing, either in staffing or supply? I feel like, these botanical gardens serve such an important role in our future here in Hawaii, as well as the rest of our parks. We recognize in the Lahaina fire that there is so much need for us to assert space in planting native species of those regions. And I want to start looking at how our parks might be able to serve as seed banks. Additionally, we want to look at our state level and start to petition our schools to become seed bank spaces for a species, maybe one, maybe two. But we have two schools here in Waimanalo that could serve with open lawns. I'm happy to think about how we might be able to partner and provide the seeds that are necessary to safeguard our community's genetic strands. If we can look at maybe having some conversations on that at the next meeting, I would really appreciate an update from Botanical Gardens, and they play a very important role. And I know that their gardens specifically hold really beautiful things, and we're pleasured to have them. And I think that they need to serve more. So if we can invite that conversation at the next meeting, I'd really appreciate that.
Certainly, we'd be delighted to. There's a lot of wonderful things to report on for the Botanical Gardens, and then we'll raise with the director of EMS about the concept of a monthly report with statistics from them as well, and see if that's been discussed, and what their system is and whether they would have that information. And then I took a note on the other questions too regarding Hunananiho.
Mahalo. If we might, I know there's been some changes at Ocean Safety. If we can figure that out as well with EMS, that would be helpful.
Okay.
If EMS and Ocean Safety falls under the mayor's report, that's fine. Just want to make sure that we are hearing from those voices as well, and we can support them. Thank you
Okay.
very much. Director, we appreciate your time this evening and your service. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Mahalo. Members, we're going to move on to our education reports. Waimanalo Elementary School. Do we have anyone present here? Yes. Oh, excuse me. Brian, yeah. Is this for the director, the city?
Botanical Gardens.
Okay, sure.
Hello.
Sorry, director, if we can get you back on camera real quick. Thank you.
Brian Chang here. I'm with DLNR Forestry and Wildlife. I work closely with Coco Crater Botanical Gardens, starting to do seed banking over there as well. So we're just starting out. It's like a partnership. So it's on moving down.
Mahalo, Ryan. Thank you for that update. We hope maybe that there might be a joint report from the state and the Department of Forestry, as well as the Department of Urban Forestry. I think is important to make sure they're involved. But Director, thank you again. Mahalo. Thank you for the comment, Ryan. Waimanalo Elementary School, I don't see anyone online for them. I just want to acknowledge that they're celebrating 100 years. Yeah. And so if there is any memorabilia available from the community, anyone that has gone to the school, 100 years is going to be celebrated next year in May, I believe. And so we invite the communities to participate in that. There was also a dire need addressed by Principal De La Cruz in our education committee just before this. 8th grade needs a lot of help. They're short several staffers and several teachers. And so it brought up a very systemic issue with regards to our educational system that I just want to make sure people are aware of. And that's just that our schools need help. Yeah, they're looking for volunteers, they're looking for teachers' aides, they're looking for substitute teachers. Most recently, some of you have noticed they're looking for drivers, right? Our kids can't learn if they can't get to school. And so we want to start to think about that. If there's any conversations that anyone want to have about that, we welcome that into the community discussions that we host. And we look forward to continuing to support 100 years and celebrating 100 years, yeah, in a community. So we'll move on to Blanche Pope, Kikayapuni, Kula Kayapuni or Waimanalo. Do we have anyone here from Kikula Kayapuni or Blanche Pope? Hearing and seeing none. Moving on, Malamahonua Public Charter School, Po'okumu, Denise Espana. The time is yours, ma'am.
Mahalo board for allowing us to share. I want to just share my screen. That's okay.
Yep, please do.
Okay. Oh, no. That's not what I wanted to do. What am I?
And I apologize for the lighting. For those that are in person, we don't have a way to shut off only those lights over there. So good luck.
Okay. Hopefully you can see my slides. So aloha, I'm Denise Espana from Malamahonua Public Charter School. With celebrating Mo'i's Lahanau, and our Olelo no Eao right now we're looking at is E Oni Pa'akako, as we are starting this school year, as we remember and inspired by our queen. This has been our drive couple of weeks as our Hamana reflect on the importance of being steadfast in their learning, in their aspirations, that they also look to goal setting for the year, both academic, behavioral, as well as their language and culture goals for the year. So also just a reminder, this is Hawaiian History Month. Please take a moment to
Denise, I'm sorry.
spend time, and you can look up.
Denise,
Oh,
sorry, we're getting cut off. Can you maybe shut
yes.
off your camera and then see if that might help?
Okay. Let's see.
It's just going in and out. So I just want to make sure we hear the fullness of your report. Okay, we could try. Mahalo.
Okay. Okay, try again. Okay. Sounds good. Can you still see my screen or no?
Yep,
No
we
can.
can. Yep, go ahead.
Oh, okay, perfect. So Hawaiian History Month, and there are resources there. Our eighth graders were able to start their school year off with Kanehuna Moku at Va'a Camp. Establishing their connection with Va'a, getting to sail, starting with protocol each morning at sunrise. They had a great time with Kumusharlani doing oli, and this is them making kaula. Just regrounding, reconnecting, and being inspired as they head into their last year at Malamahonua. Our seventh graders had lifeguarding class as they engage in junior lifeguarding. We recognize the importance of water safety, especially as a Va'a school. So our seventh graders and eighth graders engage in junior lifeguarding classes. INA partners. This is just an example of our seventh graders at Ulupo, helping to clear and plant and learn mo'olelo. This is our first and second graders are actually our babies from kindergarten to second grade, and then actually all of our classes get to work in our agroforest. Oh, hopefully you guys can still hear me. And then finally, just like our eighth graders got to celebrate their end of year, this is just our fifth graders as they gain skills on Va'a in preparation for their sixth grade sale. Oya Vale, no, I know I'm breaking in and out.
Okumu mahalo nui for the update. Congratulations on the programming. And yeah, we look forward to a continuation of our learning for our keiki. Mahalo for being an example there. Members, any questions for Malamohonua? Anyone from the public? Okay. Okumu mahalo for being here. We appreciate your service. Thank you. Do we have anyone from Hui Malama Okekai? Hearing none. Windward Community College. Hearing none. University of Hawaii College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resources, CTAR. Hearing none. Moving on. Community organizations and reports. We have Waimanalo Health Center, Hawaii Job Corps. We know that Ms. Julie was at our education committee just before this meeting, so we want to wish her wonderful 12-year-old. She went to go support a birthday, so happy birthday to you. Yes. But we want to celebrate Hawaii Job Corps as well. They celebrated 60 years in service, so thank you to them. Waimanalo Health Center, Jasmine.
Aloha.
Aloha, welcome. Thank you so much for making time this evening. We look forward to your report.
Thank you. I have one quick announcement and then we have a guest speaker tonight. So my quick announcement, we have our annual meeting on Thursday, September 26th from 7 to 7:30 at the health center. This year it'll be at the newer medical building. I'll put a link in the chat where you can find all the information. But that's open to the community. We welcome everyone and anyone to come, share your mana'o, ask questions. Please join us. So now I'm going to hand it over to Christy. I'll let her introduce herself. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Jasmine. I'm sorry, you mentioned Christy?
Yes, she's on the call. Christy, do you hear us?
Hi, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, there we go. Christy,
Okay,
welcome.
aloha
Thank you for being
everyone.
here.
Mahalo for having me.
If you have a
Yes.
camera, we'd appreciate seeing you.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I thought the camera would have been cutting in and out, so that's why I turned it off. But I'm here.
I think
Aloha,
only Miss
aloha.
Denise.
Mahalo. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Hi
There we are.
everyone.
Aloha.
Hi. So
Welcome.
I do have a little, thank you, Kimiona. I do have a quick presentation, and thank you, Jasmine. You know, she said that, like she was asking me to share months ago, and I apologize. I was very busy, but I'm free tonight, so I'd love to share more about my program. I do have a PowerPoint. I will be sharing that right now. Give me 1 second, guys. So sorry. I usually, WebEx, I'm not too familiar with, but I'm going to try my best to work through this. Let's see. Okay, wait, if I have it on PowerPoint. Let's see.
You should have sharing privileges, so.
Yes. Are you able to see my screen here?
I see Ted Ralston's screen.
Oh, shucks. Okay, wait.
Ted, can you stop sharing, Ted? Are you able to remove him from sharing? There you go. Okay. Chrissy, we have your slides up.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. So yes, my name is Christy Carvalho. I'm Director of School Health Services. I work for the Pui Kamana program, which is the Youth and Young Adult Services over for the Waimanalo Health Center. And I just wanted to give you a couple minutes of your time tonight just to share the services that we do provide. So as far as Pui Kamana, we do service ages 6 to 24 years old. We provide health education, we provide mentoring services, as well as program intercessions. We do have a KICAM center made courtesy of Waimanalo Elementary and Intermediate School. And we are in the process of starting a school-based health center, which I will be talking to you guys more about as well. So health education, so made courtesy from the Stanford Medicine, we do provide a tobacco prevention toolkit. I do provide vaping education to the Waimanalo Intermediate School, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Last year, I did a presentation for each grade level, 6th, 7th, and 8th. I'm in the process of implementing my Healthy Futures, which is what is that called? An alternative to in-school suspension. So as we know, and I'm so sorry, my little Kiki just walked in. He wasn't in my room the whole time. So as we all know, vaping is a very, what do you call? It's a very big topic in our schools, especially in the Waimanalo communities. So what I do is I educate the students on just vaping in general, what it does to your body, just ways that if students are already addicted, ways that they can go ahead and, like help themselves quit. So I do all of that. We are also, me and another staff member of mine, her name is Amber Tai. We are also certified in family planning as well. We do offer mentoring services, just strictly with the Waimanalo intermediate side. We also partner with Uplink, which is the WISE after school program. We provide health education on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. So topics that we
Christy,
do
I'm
is
so sorry to cut you off, Christy. Is this
you
information
want me
on
to
the
turn off
next
the
slides
camera?
at all? No. Is this information on any of the next slides? Just so people can follow your conversation. We're still on the first slide. I just want to make sure that's correct.
Oh, calamai. No, I'm so sorry. Oh, so you're not on my, oh goodness. I'm on my third slide already.
Okay, mahalo. Thank you. If we can,
I thought you were going along with me. Maybe I should turn off my camera.
if it makes you nervous, sure. Let's go to the third slide, and then if you can follow down, that would be great. First time
So
Jen.
I
No worry,
actually,
Christy.
no, I actually am on my third slide, but I guess you're not able to see it. I'm so sorry. Yeah,
Yeah, can you click on your third slide?
yes, I'm on my third slide right now from my computer, from my laptop.
Oh, hi, Christy. This is Rachel, the neighborhood assistant. So what
Rachel.
we're seeing, hi, what we're seeing is the PowerPoint where it has all the bunch of slides, and you can, before you click on
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. So right
Yeah,
here.
that's what we're seeing. Yes.
There we go.
Okay. Okay, I'll just leave it.
Beautiful.
I'll leave it at this one then. Sorry. Yes, so we provide health and wellness education Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays for the Waimanalo Intermediate School. So type of topics that we talk about is, of course, like good hygiene, healthy relationships, emotional and mental health, physical activity, stress management, pretty much any topic that needs to be covered with intermediate students, we pretty much hit it. We also help with homework help and tutoring. And then we have just partnered with Blanche Pope. The ending of last year, we started helping with their health and wellness on Mondays and Thursdays. And that's through PAF, which is Pacific American Foundation. And I just wanted to just mention a little bit, Wednesdays are their teacher meetings. So that's why I don't have Wednesdays on our schedule for after school program at WISE. Yeah, so we do offer free program intersessions. We have spring, summer, and fall. Again, they're completely free. We service students 6 and up. We do have only 24 spots available, and our spots do fill up fast, considering the amount of stuff we do with the students. For the summer, we focus a lot on cultural activities. We partnered with our cultural health department, Auntie Olive Bright, and we took the students to Lapa'au every week, which is amazing. We do offer a peer mentorship program. So if any high school students are interested in getting community service hours, they can help us during our intercession programs. And I want to say throughout the entire year, they can get about 180 community service hours, which is a lot. Which is a lot. Last but not least, thank you to Waimanalo Elementary and Intermediate School, Mr. Jamie De La Cruz, for offering us this awesome space in their school. This is our KICAM Center. It's an activity center, so students are able to come in during recess and lunch. We offer, of course, a safe and quiet space, bully-free zone, and Amber and I offer tutoring services as well. So this is actually a picture of our center, and a lot of the activities were either donated or they were purchased through grants. Last but not least, we are in the process of starting a school-based health center over at the Waimanalo Elementary and Intermediate School, made courtesy through the Hawaii Primary Care Association. And that is where we are trying to hire, or in the process of hiring an APRN to conduct physical. I'm so sorry, I'm gonna shut my door. Physicals for students entering 7th grade and or sports physicals. I also want to mention that we are also going to start telehealth, and our cooperative agreement is currently, if I'm not mistaken, getting signed and in the process. So yes, I hope you guys were able to follow all of that. I'm sorry it was a lot, but is there any questions for anybody?
Christy, thank you so very much for the presentation and for bringing life into spaces that really need it. We really appreciate your services
Yes.
to our kids. I do want to ask, you mentioned Weiss right now, and we do have other
Yes.
schools and students. And so if there's a way to provide some of this learning collaboratively, if there might be an invitation to our other schools, our charter schools specifically. And then we have Hui Malamo Kekai as an after-school program. All of our keiki need these services. And so if there's any
Yes.
boundaries or barriers that are being created, please let us know how we can help, because I personally would want to see all of these services extended to every keiki in Waimanalo.
Definitely, yes. It's just staff
Yes.
capacity at this time, but yes, we want to be at every school we possibly can.
Okay,
Yes.
wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions that are needing to be asked at this point from our members? Kuike?
Mahalo, Chair. I have a question. How old is the Kuikamana program?
Oh gosh, so we've been around since 2000, and well, I know they've been around longer than I have started, 2009, I want to say. So they've been in Waimanalo Elementary School from the beginning, from when we started, I think in 2009. So it's been a long, yeah, it started out as a youth mentoring program, and then so Amber, there's only a staff of 2 of us. There's me and Amber. We're actually health educators. And yeah, so it came a long way from what it used to be, just strictly mentoring. Now we're doing now we're providing like health education with the students. So yeah, we've been around for a while.
Mahalo. And is the Kuikamana program an entity?
It's just a program of the health center.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're part of the Waimanalo Health Center. Yes.
Because you mentioned that some of the in-school services and what you call that, the tables or whatever, was also
Donated.
provided through, was either donated or was secured by grants through a nonprofit. What nonprofit is that? What's the name of the
So we're
nonprofit?
part of the Waimanalo Health Center. We are a nonprofit. Kuikamana, sorry. Yes, we're just our own, separate from the Waimanalo Health Center, but we are just considered a nonprofit.
Okay, so for clarification, Kuikamana is its own 501c3 nonprofit entity? Separate
We're part of
from-
the Waimanalo Health Center. Yes, we're all one. We're all just one.
The health center is a
501c3.
nonprofit. Jasmine, the health center is a
Yes.
nonprofit, correct?
Correct.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Okay, so for clarification, just because I'm just trying to organize this in my head.
Mhm.
The health center is a 501c3, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
And then Kuikamana is a program service within the health center's nonprofit.
Correct.
Okay, mahalo.
Mahalo.
And then what's the annual budget for the Kuikamana program?
So based on grants, we do have quite a few grants, and I actually did not list them, but I want to say roughly we get about close to 200,000 each year
Annually,
on grants
specifically to provide
for
this service
program activities, for services, salaries. Yes,
for Kuikamana.
correct.
Okay, mahalo. I
Mahalo.
look forward to future discussions, Chair. Mahalo. Nai.
Mahalo. Any other hands from our board? Okay, seeing none, anyone from the public? Canela, come up to the mic. And then Christy, if I might ask if you can stop share, that would be lovely.
Oh,
And might we
yes.
get a copy of the slide deck to distribute? And then we have a community member with a comment. Thank you.
Hello, Kirsty. Hello, everyone. My name is Kanala. I think I have like 2 questions. Is Kuikamana that is done in the Waimanalo school, is that volunteer or do they sign up like with their parents? I'm not sure if I am aware of this program. And since you guys been here too from 2009, I might be new to the table, but I've never heard of this program.
Oh, yes. Okay, so yeah, we so what happens is we partner with okay, I don't know if you're familiar with their counselors. We call him coach, and he's a big influence with the students, of course, and he, you know, he'll just approach me and Amber and say, hey, we need this just topic discussed about vaping, and if you can help us. So I go ahead and provide this presentation for the students. So it's not based on who signs up for us. It's just basically referrals from like staff or admin, if they have any referrals of students. But yeah. And then as far as Uplink goes, we've been partnering with Uplink for many years, and we've always done their health and wellness component.
I might have 3 questions. Sorry. Second question, is there a confidentiality on what you do with kids that are referred to you from coach or any other staff members, or do you guys ask parents and guardians before you interact with the child if they are not in the
That's a good
Uplink
question.
program?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So anything's like any topics that are like exceeds our realm of, you know, what we can offer, we'll just, you know, have coach refer them to our, you know, our health center. We have a clinical psychologist, Dr. Noy, who's really good with focusing on, you know, working with youth, whether it be like youth that, you know, wants to, you know, like help to quit with vaping or whatever, help with quit with you know, whatever it may be. But yeah, definitely if it's with not within our scope of what we can teach them, we always like refer out to a specialist as far as that goes.
How do you folks notify parents or guardians if a conversation like this in school is happening?
Oh, so what my understanding is that the counselors or teachers are supposed to notify if there's any yeah, if we do come in and do topics as far as like I'm gonna bring up vaping again. Yeah, they're the ones that notify the parents to let them know what is being taught in school.
I think kind of like what we're
But
saying is
again,
there,
yeah, we only come in on certain topics, not yeah.
so there's a we're not communicating that to parents, you think?
Seems it
Yeah,
might
it's not-
just be me, I'm not sure, but it seems like this
Nope.
program or this
Mhm.
program, the health center, was not shared.
Okay.
Because I'm not too sure what other parents are aware of this program and programs that are being applied in schools, as well as referrals that are being done for our kids
Mm.
as well. I think you're talking about Coach Silva. I'm not sure, but I'm not too sure his position
Yeah,
in the as well. Sorry, last question.
Okay.
If we do have a 14-year-old high schooler that is interested in your volunteer, how do they sign up?
Okay, so they sign up through our we do have a Google form or QR code, and we posted well, we can post it on the what is that, Parent Square? Yeah, the Parent Square through Waste. So we yeah, and then during our fairs as well, we always have booths there. We are part of the Waimanalo Health Center again, and we always have like a QR code for students that are interested in registering for a peer mentorship program, which we have every again spring, summer, and fall.
Thank you so much, Chrissy.
Mahalo Kanala.
Yes,
Thank
of
you.
course.
Christy and I appreciate your time. Jasmine, if you folks can follow up on maybe that one concern that I just kind of heard in discussion, how do parents get involved? If we can just confirm that process at the next meeting, that would be really helpful to make sure that our community is being informed. I think that would be super beneficial for folks to know.
Yes.
Thank you. I see no other hands here, and I appreciate your folks' time. Christy, nice to meet you. Mahalo for your service. Jasmine, Malama, always a pleasure. Thank you so much, gang.
Chair, I just want to confirm. So you're asking how parents are notified and how they're involved?
Yeah, specifically to this program, I think what Canela highlighted is there's potentially a missing piece in that that's not being addressed, or maybe, because the program has been around for a while, it might need a reboost of engagement with newer parents, it seems like. So just confirming that there is a process that acknowledges that the school is teaching these things to their keiki, and making sure that that's alive and well, that process.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, gang, we're gonna move on. We have up next Hawaii Job Corps, Waimanalo Homestead Association. Hearing none, we're gonna move to military reports. Major Chen. Thank you for being here, sir.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Major Chen from Bellows Air Force Station. Online as well, I have Herman, and tonight we're hoping to discuss, and I'm trying to share my screen to discuss the RAB results from April's meeting, and potentially discuss a little bit of future as well. It doesn't look like I'm able to share my page though. But I'm sorry, here you go. I figured it out. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, that was operator error. Sorry about that. But I do have Miss Jennifer Warman online. She's from the Air Force Service Center. And Jennifer, I'll go ahead and hand it off to you.
Aloha, my name is Jennifer Werman. I'm with the Air Force. I work with Major Chen, and I'm responsible for the restoration efforts at Bellows Air Force Station. So working closely with Major Chen and his team and also local community members to keep you apprised of the ongoing restoration efforts that we have at the sites on Bellows. This figure that you can see on your screen right now shows 3 of our active sites. TG001 Alpha at the north, TS002, which is in the central figure, and then TM001, which is at the southern end of the figure. Do you want to, next slide? So we gave an update in April 2024 as part of our Restoration Advisory Board meeting, our semi-annual meeting, and just gave an update on TG001 Alpha, which is a former large bomb range. In January of this year, we initiated a time critical removal action, and you can see here by the dark green where we completed the removal action. And then you can see also here the light green, which is going to be our target for a future time critical removal action. So this area is not yet contracted, but it will be shortly. And we're planning on actually have this contracted by the end of this fiscal year. So the fiscal year for the government fiscal year is September 30th. So another time critical removal action for this area. And then we also have an upcoming field effort at TM001. If you could show that slide, Major Chen. So this area, TM001, some of you are familiar with the term the Nike site, which is a part of this, this site, but we are planning a time critical removal action in the area that is that light orangish yellow color. It's about 25 acres along the beach. And this action is also planning to be contracted by September 30th. Site work here and also at TG001 Alpha will likely start early in the new year, so in January. So once it's contracted, we'll go through the work plan process. Also throughout that process, we'll have our November RAB meeting and we can give everybody an update on durations and other notices with regards to these removal actions, and we'll go from there. So that's the update I have for you all right now. Any questions?
Jennifer, thank you so very much. Major Chen, thank you very much for the update. Part of the request in this particular focus and function this evening was because we had a lot of challenges with connectivity at that RAB, and many community members that were keying in on it were unable to participate. So we've asked that a summary of that RAB be presented, and that's why the major has provided that to us this evening in this fashion. And so we mahalo you folks for accommodating us in that and bringing the information forward. We'll start with our board members. Kuike? Kuike is also the co-chair for the RAB. So
yeah, aloha.
Aloha, guys. Great to hear and see you guys again. I guess I'll start with my first question on this last slide. For those in the public and who may not understand what we're looking at, the bottom part of the image we see here, that orange line is the fence line between Hunananiho today and the Air Force. Yeah, so my question to, I guess to you, Jennifer, what efforts or what is the Air Force prepared to do to ensure that as you guys are following through with this contract that should be awarded by the end of this month with a critical removal process, what efforts are you guys prepared to roll out to ensure that the public does not encroach into the workspace work area? Because if I'm aware, this is the area that has high concentration of potential unexploded ordinances. So I'll start with that. That's my first question.
So part of the reason for the time critical removal action, and you mentioned it, you said it well, this area, since it is used by the public, it's why we're targeting this area for right now. And while we're doing the site work, I don't know exactly the size of the potential for the munitions in this area, but the size of the munitions will determine the exclusion zones, which will give kind of like a barrier for people, both site workers and the public, to not encroach within this area. Part of the field work will also be replacing and adding more boulders to the area to prevent vehicles to access the area. We'll also be updating and replacing the gates to make them sturdier to help prevent access to this area. Does that help answer your question?
Yes, it does, because I just want to pull our attention back to the mayor's report with Director Thielen. That's also a conversation or comments that she mentioned as well in her report, that they're exploring adding more boulders and refencing. So I just want to ask, is the fence line on the Air Force side of the jurisdiction boundary or the meets and bounds, or is it on the county side of the meets and bounds? Has
That's
that
a
ever
good-
been surveyed?
You know, and that's a question I actually have, and I meant to bring that up, and I haven't yet. So we'll have to talk about that. But I know the Air Force will be, any activity or any boulders or fencing will only do on the Air Force side. So we're not planning, but that is a good question. We'll need to know for sure what those boundaries are, because that'll be definitely a coordination effort with the county or whomever owns Hunanio Park to make sure that, you know, we can access that area.
Mahalo. And if I have a follow-up question, Chair.
Please.
Does the Air Force have a budget to just erect a brand new fence line, let's just say 1 foot in, 2 feet in, 3 feet in of the jurisdiction on the Air Force side of the boundary? Because the reason why I ask, is the process it'll probably take for the city and county to allocate resources to, one, patch fences or source new fence materials, and then just go through the RFP process possibly. I think that's not within the time frame of which you guys talking. So if that burden could just be taken care of by the Air Force side, I think the community of Waimanalo would appreciate that conversation. And if you need assistance in moving that forward, I think this is the venue for that.
Mahalo.
Yeah, mahalo for that. So part of the budget for this effort is those security features. So the boulders, the fencing or the gates. I don't think we're planning on replacing fencing, but we are planning on updating gates, and that will be part of the budget and will be part of this effort.
Appreciate that. And Chair, I have one last question.
Go ahead.
This question may be for Major Chen. And, you know, I'm just going to ask this because we're on a public forum. What's the Air Force's greatest plan with this parcel? Meaning that after all the efforts are done to clean up this space, what is the desired outcome for the Air Force and this Nike site? Is the intention to retain it, or is the intention to lease it? Is that a question that could be answered at time?
That sounds like a great
Sir,
question for
that's a
Major
very good
Chen.
question. Yes. So, Mr. Timothy Cashdollar from PACAF attended the last Waimanalo Neighborhood Board. We kind of talked a little bit about with the potential shared space with the community as well. However, we're still doing research to find out what the possibilities are with that. He did mention talks about a cultural site or just an area where, again, we can share space with the community, and a cultural site came up. So that's something we're looking into, but that's currently the answer that we have right now. But that is part of the conversation. Yes, sir. Does that help,
I
sir?
appreciate that. Yes, it does. And Chair, if I may expand, I swear that was my last question, but I just got to expand because it has to be said. And mahalo you, Major Chen. In 1898, when the provisional government ceded this land to the United States federal government and then became the territory of Hawaii. Yeah. This land was deemed ceded at that point in time that predates in the early 1900s, this land been stolen or taken by executive order from the president at that time, from POTUS at that time. Yeah. I understand what the intended use was in 1914. I can agree what the intended use was in 1950. But in 2024, it's no longer a Nike missile site. So the reason why my last question, what is the intended outcome of all of this cleanup? Is because I believe, and my family believe, and I don't want to speak for all of the community of Waimanalo, but if we've been putting ears to the ground and listening to the Army's community engagement with DLNR, with the Lahui abroad, about the leases coming up in 2029. And I understand very clearly that Bellows Air Force Station is not a lease. It was taken by EO, so therefore it's being held under DOD. But if the intended use, or if the original intended use of the land is no longer there and it's no longer needed, can we then, in addition to exploring what it looks like for co-stewardship, co-management space with the community of Waimanalo, can we then explore what it looks like to remove that executive order and return the land back to its people? Because Hunananiho today, the 75.4 acres that we see that is now stewarded by the city and county, was EO'd back to the state of Hawaii. And it was placed in DLNR for a decade and a half. And then DLNR, the state of Hawaii, conveyed that over to the city and county. So why can't we use that as precedent on the other side of the fence in 2024? Major Chen, that's my question to you, and I'm hopeful that we be able next month or the following month, November, when we meet again as the RAB, as co-chairs of the RAB, we'd be able to answer this question. Chair, mahalo you time. Major Chen, mahalo you guys. And Jennifer, great to hear you, see you. Are you back?
Mahalo, Kuike. Major, I don't know if you're prepared
Sir,
to answer that tonight, but we'll.
yes, sir. Thanks for answer our question. I will have to defer to our higher leadership and then get back to you on that. So, but I did get the question, so thank you for asking. And like I said, I owe you an answer on that.
Mahalo. I just want to be cognizant of our time because we do have a little bit more to the agenda. But mahalo for that discussion. Jennifer, in this last slide, and Major, either one of you can comment on this. It looks to me, sorry, on that last slide, the boundary of what is drawn out there seems to extend onto the sand. Are we saying that now you folks are taking Kuleana to state jurisdiction? And if you are, again, our question becomes, who's responsible to care for the unexploded ordinances that may be present in the ocean? And I know we've asked that question at the RAB. I know we've talked about this at large, but we're going to ask it again because your document here shows what could be interpreted as you are taking Kuleana to state property.
I believe the intent is to go above the high water line, but I will have to ask, I'll have to get confirmation on that for you, Kinyona. So, but and then we have had multiple discussions about what would happen if it was found in the water, and we haven't had those discussions in a while. So let me refer back to that one too. And I realize that's one that's been ongoing.
Yeah, and Jennifer, I just want to make sure can you identify who the we is in that statement? Because we
The Air
as a
Force?
community. Yeah, okay, great, thank you.
Yes.
Quickly followed by Ted. Let's be real quick with our comments.
Okay,
gang.
mahalo. Real quick, because I was going to say something earlier about that, but mahalo, Chair Kane. I just want to expand on that. Jennifer, Major Chen, out of respect, and I mahalo, I commend you guys for taking on the responsibility in Kuleana to clean up the mess of your predecessors. However, I got to ask this question, just out of respect. Have you guys had any conversations with the LNR? Have you guys had any conversations with the administration of the state of Hawaii? Because you guys are now operating outside of your guys' jurisdiction. So to me is I commend you and support you in the cleanup, but out of respect, the same way the state, the county, the community would approach you folks and ask for a right of easement to conduct business in your jurisdiction. I would just assume that that's your guys' intention and therefore your follow-up action. So you don't have to answer that now. I look forward to seeing that come to fruition, and we begin to have conversations with the LNR. We begin to have conversations with the city and county, especially HPD. That way we can secure the area and ensure that the safety of the public is intact. So mahalo, Chair, I yield back.
Mahalo. Ted, you have something to add quickly? If not, we're going to take Lily's hand very quickly and then we're moving on.
Nope, clear.
Thank you. Lily, go ahead.
Hi, quick question about the shoreline. Is there an updated shoreline certification or survey that was completed as a part of this project?
Great question. I don't know if Jennifer, if you guys heard that question.
Oh, yes, I did. Mahalo for that question. I don't know if a survey has been, when the last time a survey of the shoreline has been completed. I'll have to confer with our real property folks, and that's the Air Force real property team, to see if they have any of that information, and I'll talk about it with Major Chen.
Mahalo for that. Yeah, Lily brings up a really great question and point. The shoreline has changed and altered over the years, and so surely much more is exposed, especially in that particular space that we're looking at. Yeah,
it's good to know. And I really appreciate you bringing up the jurisdiction and the coordination and communication with all the potential interested parties. And so that'll be definitely a lot of communication we're going to need to have as soon as this contract's awarded, so we can start planning in communicating with the neighborhood and nearby community.
Much mahalo. Thank you for that. And then just one last thought on that, because you're looking at that section, Major, if we can add to the RAB, if there's any way to address two things, right? Manana and offshore islands, and then, of course, the jetty. We talked about the jetty closer to Puha, but there's a jetty here too. And so we need to converse with Army Corps of Engineers or whoever the entities might be. Those jetties need to be reevaluated for their function and their purpose. And so I believe personally, if it was installed for any reason that serves the United States military, that it should be a part of the Restoration Advisory Board's capacity to reestablish a look on that. So if it doesn't make sense right now, let's make it make sense, I think, in the future. And our co-chairs, if we can agendize some of that discussion at our next RAB, I'd appreciate it. Mahalo. Okay, I'm gonna assume we're good on that. Commander? Okay, we're moving
Hello,
on.
can you hear me?
Now we
Oh,
can hear
sorry.
you.
Yes. Copy all. Sorry.
Appreciate it. Jennifer, Commander Chen, thank you so much for being here, members. We're gonna move on to Marine Corps Base, Christy Kaluhiva. Yes. Okay. Is it specifically for Velos? Okay. Okay, why don't we wait for that, if you don't mind. Christy, if we can move through your conversation, Brenda, hold your hand and then we'll come back to that discussion. If not, you can put it in the chat and we can forward it, just because we're running behind on schedule. So I want to be respectful of the people that are still here waiting to present. But you can put it in the chat. We'll go ahead and take it there. Christy, the time is yours.
Hi, good evening, Chair, members of the board and neighborhood. I'm going to leave my camera off due to the last time it interrupted the connection. Just a couple of updates. This coming Friday, a group of our team, the community relations, our education department, a school liaison will be visiting Hui Malama Okekai to see their site and to learn more about what some of their needs can be, and if possible, if there is a way that we can work with them. Also, we're going to be having a general's change of command on the 12th. And just for awareness, there's going to be cannon fire, and it will be multiple, and I believe 12 is the correct number, which will be really loud and maybe not heard in Waimanalo, but if anybody is in the Kailua or the Kaneohe area, they may hear it, and it could be alarming, but just to let you know that it is a part of a ceremony, a change of command for General Journey. In addition, I also have next month, I sent you a flyer. This is for the project overview for the Poco community resiliency. And they're requesting, we're beginning to go to all the neighborhood boards to share this information. And they'd like to have some time next month to do a full presentation if possible, 10 minutes if can. But I sent that flyer ahead of time. It has QR code on the bottom, and we'll be able to go over this next month. This is in follow up to the installation resiliency review that you, as well as some of the other neighborhood board members and community leaders, attended back in March. And finally, we are almost finalizing our update for noise concerns and reporting. And there will be a QR code and a simple form that people will be able to fill out and send automatically to our section where it'll be collected for data. But people will be able to report aircraft as well as any firing that they may hear, any ammunition training going on. I know that you had reached out to me on the September 5th for some nighttime firing that was going on. And I did confirm that there was training up until 10 o'clock that night. Other than that, that is all I have.
Christine, mahalo nui for the update. We appreciate the response to the concerns previously mentioned. Members, any quick questions for the Marine Corps Base Hawaii? Anyone from the public? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Christy, I do want to just make this comment, and it's going to come off very harsh. 10 o'clock live fire or simulated fire is obnoxious. And so I think we need to figure out how we can address what is reasonable in regards to military training. And I know you're definitely here helping us. We're going to continue to push on that because I think that that is absolutely absurd for us to be. And mind you, I want to just comment that I stood at the base of our Ko'ola Mountains when I sent you that particular concern. Yeah, it is something that is not good for our community. It is not good for the health of and well-being of our people. And so let's continue to have that discussion openly. I do want to ask a quick question because we're on this conversation about what and how do we recognize some of the challenges? When the military is going to go into our schools, will they be in military uniforms?
They'll usually be in what they call like their PE, but if it is requested for them not to be, it can be clarified that they not be, and they can be in just regular street clothes.
Is that conversation offered to the schools prior to them attending?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know if our po'okumu are here. I just want to make sure that they have an option, and I appreciate that there is an option because the presence of military personnel in that is very, very traumatic for some. I won't say for all. But in a community that has struggled with its relationship to the armed forces, I think it's important to keep that in mind. And so I appreciate you clarifying that. Seeing no hands and comments here, we're going to mahalo you for your time and service. Thank you so much for being here this evening.
Thank you.
Mahalo. Do we have anyone from Hawaii Army National Guard? Hearing and seeing none. Members, we're going to move on to resident community concerns or public reports and announcements. Karen, you have a question?
So I'm not sure
if you can introduce yourself as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Karen O'Mahony, just a resident here in Waimanalo. Regarding the coconut rhinoceros beetles and the military, so I'm not totally sure, but I believe it was brought in through Pearl Harbor. So Hickam. Okay, well, please excuse me. So I have no idea what branch it is, but I'm wondering, because the military has shown such an ability to get things done, I'm wondering, and they're the ones who brought the beetle here, if we can appeal to the military to help with the eradication, with the netting, with the bucket trucks to get the trees netted, to supply the traps. I mean, the things that we know are working. I have 23 trees. One of my neighbors was nice enough to bring a bucket truck over. The tree already had coconut rhinoceros beetle damage. We netted it, and now the new fronds coming out have no beetle damage. And in fact, we can see a dead beetle caught up there. We've caught beetles in the traps. So we're having some positive results, but I don't have $250 per 23 trees that I have. And so I have 3 trees that are probably going to die, that I'm probably going to have to cut down so they don't fall on the housing. So we could use this help yesterday. And it takes, not a ton of money, but it takes some money and some action. So I'm just wondering if the military could also be involved in that conversation. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Karen. I think if we definitely have our office from our federal level here online. So Nicole, if you can make a note of that and partner with our elected officials to figure out a pathway, I think that'd be really appreciated. And to your point, very much needed. So thank you. Any other public comment reports? Please go ahead. And gentlemen, I know you folks are here from the state, so just if you can identify yourselves. Mahalo for your time.
Mahalo, Chair Kane, members of the board, and members of the community. My name is Josh Atwood. I'm an information and education specialist for Forestry and Wildlife, which is part of the Department of Land and Natural Resources. And then I'm here with Ryan Chang, who's part of our forestry crew for the Oahu branch. So we just wanted to share some information with the community about the coqui frog population at the back of Waimanalo. As you know, we've been working to address that population for several years now with the Hawaii Department of Agriculture and the Oahu Invasive Species Committee. Unfortunately, there were frogs detected through a public report earlier this year at higher elevations. So about 200 meters below the summit of the Kuli'o Ridge Trail. And so it's an area that's inaccessible by foot. The traditional control tool that's used at lower elevations is spraying a citric food additive through hoses and sprays. We can't do that at the higher elevations. So what we're going to try to do is use the same treatment tool, the citric, but we'll deploy it using drones with an Aloha Aina drone company out of Hilo. Has a tank mounted on a drone basically to address those areas that we can't access by foot. So those are going to be at higher elevation sites away from residents and businesses in the community. But we wanted to share that and see if there's any questions about the response to coqui frogs or the specific use of the drones for trying to get that higher elevation population. Mahalo.
Mahalo for the update. Typically we don't engage in like super heavy conversation at this particular juncture, but I think this is an issue that we need to get ahead of. And so given our time, I'm going to just allow us maybe 5 minutes, gang, for us to have question and answer. Members of our board, if you have any comments specific to this particular action, can you speak to it briefly? If not, I'm going to question. You have anything?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, you want to go first? Oh, look. Somebody raise their hand. But mahalo, Chair, for the time. Mahalo, gentlemen, for being here tonight. I believe it was earlier this year or last year, we had a community town hall meeting. And the expert at that community town hall meeting said that there was no such thing about a coqui
infestation
in Waimanalo. And then now, less than a year later, you're reporting that we're experiencing coqui at a way higher elevation. So I just like know, just be straight. What's the negative impacts of one using that chemical? Everybody said food grade, but you eat too much oil, you muck it. Okay, so what's the potential negative impacts of utilizing that chemical? Because everything's chemicals. And then the other thing is, what's the potential hazards of utilizing the drone? And then what's the efficacy? And then what's the budget? What's going to cost? 4 questions, one time.
If you got those answers, we appreciate it.
Yeah, I can address at least the first couple of questions, and maybe Ryan can share some more about the operational questions. But the citric food additive, it's something that is toxic to frogs and amphibians because it goes through their skin really easily. There's no known impacts to people or other species at the concentrations that are used for controlling coqui frogs. So it's a pretty safe tool in terms of trying to control frogs and not having impacts on other species. It's been used for years on Hawaii Island, Maui, and on Oahu as well for a past infestation and on Hawaii. And I'm not aware of any negative impacts to people from the citric. As far as the impacts of using the drone, I'm not aware of any negative impacts that we anticipate from using that technology for deploying the citric. It's certainly safer for our field crews for that type of terrain. There has been aerial use of citric before deployed out of a helicopter, but kind of given the topography and the weather up there, it's safer for us to use the unmanned aerial vehicles instead of a helicopter. And I'm sorry, your more specific operational questions about the town hall meeting, are you able to address that?
And the budget.
And the budget.
Yeah.
So I don't have the answers for the budget. As far as like efficacy for the drone application, we really don't know. It's a new territory. It was not effective when we used the helicopter operations in the Bambi bucket. But we are trying to modify the habitat and get all the trees down so that the citric acid can penetrate into the foliage and into areas where the koki are hiding.
Mahalo.
Oh, sorry, one more thing. On top of that, the helicopter was only during the day. We can fly at night, so the koki frogs will be out of their burrows and whatnot, and we'll be spraying then if we can.
A follow-up?
That was one of my follow-up questions, but my last follow-up question, yeah. Is there any record, right, that the puel
and
that the puel eat the koki frog? Do we have any evidence that they don't eat the koki frog? Because miles down, just Malka of Kayona Beach Park, is Wahipana of Kala Puel. There's a whole mo'olelo, yeah, about the elite Kane at that time and how he went to war and how the Puel came down and blacked out the sun. So by just being sensitive, yeah, to the cultural historical information that Akupuna left for us, to ensure that we're not utilizing one solution to poison another. Yeah, that the solutions that we deploy don't become the poison. So I just want to ensure, yeah, that we're very clear what the negative impacts will be on not only the environment, not only the DOFA staff, employees, because yeah, heck yeah, it's not only safer for you guys to fly the drone, but it's also safer for the environment. Yeah, so I agree. I just want to make sure that we're very clear before we develop a stance. So mahalo, Chair Yield, back to you. And gentlemen, I appreciate you folks for being here tonight.
Ted, very quickly, and then
Yes,
we'll go
just,
to.
yeah, I just want to comment from doing a lot of flying up there years and years ago. Just for the technical guys, the airflow is basically vertical along the cliff. It isn't horizontal like we think of the wind down here. So it's extremely strong updrafts and very turbulent and very rough. I would say the rate of climb of the airflow is about 1,000 feet per minute. And as soon as you get over the top, it's the other way around on the Coolio O side. So just be aware of a very, very rough aeronautical environment. I'll just leave it at that.
Ted, thank you so much. Senator Lee?
Oh, thanks. I was just going to say, part of what I was going to talk about in the later presentation was all about what we're about to do, I think, this coming year for invasive species, and overlaps a lot with, I think, what we're talking about right here. So I don't know if you wanted to dive into that now, or I can definitely save it for later.
Yeah, I don't want to dive into it now. I think our time is needing to pass, and we can go through your report to share some of that.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you. Joe, you had a comment? Question, please? If you can come to the mic.
Aloha, my name is Joe Watt, and I was wondering how you guys are going to measure efficacy. My understanding was that other government agencies believed that this was resolved before, and so I just wanted to double check to see what we would be doing different so that we can make sure that if we do choose to do the eradication, that we're having the impact we anticipate.
Mahalo.
Great question, Joe. Mahalo for the question. I recently picked up 4 sound microphones, and we're going to deploy it into the areas where it's very dense, koki calling. We are then going to send it to Pat Hart's lab in Hilo, and they're going to do an analysis on the sound, the density, and how many frog. We might be able to get an estimation on the sound recording. When you do the analysis, after that, we'll be doing the treatment, and then we'll be redeploying the sound meters again, and then again analyzing to see what our efficacy is.
Mahalo. Any other thoughts? Yeah. So I know we're going a little bit over. Lily, very quickly. Sorry, gang. I know these are very important conversations, but I do want to make sure that we have time to honor those that are still here waiting to present.
I had a quick question. Based on the process that you just explained, are you folks able to produce, or will you be incorporating a GIS map of any of those locations that could be shared with the public so that we have a better understanding of the location, the density, and any other information that you might capture? Thank you.
Mahalo.
Yes, mahalo for the question. We've already started producing GIS maps, and I'd be happy to share that and be very transparent in what we're doing there.
Thank you, Ryan. Transparency is important. What we've learned and experienced for various reasons, I think, and we appreciate having Chair Hurd here. She's taken a lot of the blows from this community in regards to invasive species, and we're not going to stop. Yeah. The significance of this particular watershed for us. Yeah, it may not be a huge water producing watershed for Oahu, but it's significant for us. And so we need to be very, very constructive in the way that we work collaboratively. We have to call other people to the table. So I don't want to go into too much of that discussion right here, right now, because of time. The other thought, just to make sure, we've never really had documentation of any of our native snail species up in this particular region. Being that these coqui frogs are in higher elevation, are we at any point jeopardizing any potential snail populations here in the southern Ko'olaus? And so it doesn't have to be answered today, but I do want to make sure that we have not studied that. It has not been brought publicly anyway. So we can't assume that there's zero present in our water systems here. And so I just want to make sure that we're taking that precaution as well. Naturally, I have cultural issues with cultural resources, and I want to make sure that any agency, anybody, honors and recognizes the cultural practitioners of this community before they make decisions about our community. And so we welcome that conversation to come in, and we're going to just close it at that. We look forward to having, continued dialogues with you folks as well, as we look at addressing the issues that are important to the community. So thank you for making time this evening. Mahalo, gentlemen.
Mahalo, Chair. Mahalo, Board.
Thank you. Sorry, Joe? Sure, please.
Aloha, this is Joe Watt again. This is just a request to the Waimanalo Neighborhood Board. If I could be put in contact with the Waimanalo Agricultural Association. I was at a WCC Little Fire Ant presentation and anticipated to be arguing with the nursery people, but it turns out we were very much on the same page about some little fire ant stuff. So I would, if you folks could help me get in touch with them, I would really appreciate it.
Taylor Campbell, Joe, please, if you feel comfortable sharing your number. If not, I'll connect you in a text after.
Yeah, if you can text me, it's 940-4150. Thank you.
940-4150. Taylor Campbell, if you would appreciate, we'd appreciate if you could connect with Joe. If not, I'll put you guys in contact. Okay, gang, we're going to move on quickly. We have our elected officials to start with. Our city council member, Esther Kiaina. Mahalo, council member, for your time and patience this evening and your presence here physically.
Thank you. Aloha and good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you all for your presentations tonight on the DOFAW front. Very interesting. I'm glad that you're here. I have to tell you, because I am aware that some frogs have jumped over the Ko'olau. So I'm worried for two reasons. Number one, I want to make sure that as you address that, you just, you're at the outset, get it done. And you know why? Because everyone's going to be complaining over there. I don't need resources that you are focusing on here being diverted. So take care of over there and just be upfront with everybody. So that's my worry, but keep up the good work. Thank you to those who supported my resolution proposing Hawaiian homelands development in Kailua. It was adopted by the full council last week on the 4th. I have two due diligence processes to undertake. One for the actual site itself, because we understand that there could be some soil problems over there, sliding, sloping issues, and second, impacts to the community. Many of the folks opposed it there. And as someone who's a strong supporter of the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act and providing opportunities for Hawaiians, it's a balancing act. And we have to make sure that Hawaiians are given every opportunity as everyone who's living there to be able to have a home. And so thank you so much. And after that's done, if all goes well, this is the first time the city has ever supported something of this magnitude. We also provided $20 million for infrastructure funding. And if it expires, I'll probably put it in the budget again. Okay, so thank you for that. Bill 64, as you know, relates to the land use ordinance. We undertook our first hearing on agricultural use last month and this month, and it was on crop production, livestock keeping, agricultural support. So on September 26th, we're going to be focusing on accessory agricultural uses, most notably for those who might be interested. It would include beekeeping and agritourism. We have met, my staff, and I know DPP and others have met with the beekeepers. I think that they are going to be pleased because we got the message. We better understand both the small beekeepers, the difference between them and the commercial beekeepers, and they've been doing a good job at self-regulation, and the bees have been self-regulating themselves, actually. So I think that they're going to be pleased. Agritourism is probably going to be a little problematic. The question is, do you have parameters on the hours, the number of events that you can have versus none? And then just lastly, just as a reminder, because a lot of people forget, September 30th is the deadline for your for filing your property tax exemption claims. And because of the recent ordinance that we passed, for everyone, it's lifted from 100 to 100,000, 120,000. Of course, for those 65 and older, 140 and 160,000. We are entertaining several real property tax bills. Some cost money and some don't. If I was betting on any vehicle that has a greater likelihood of passage, it would be the empty homes tax, because it would actually increase revenues. It's not that easy. So the Department of Permitting and Planning actually has a contractor to say, think about how it would be implemented. For me, I do support it, but I do worry about the implications for local homeowners who have another home, who may not want to rent it. I know people differ, but I don't believe that the intent of our legislation is to impact those families. Our target, of course, is not just foreign investors, but investors outside of Hawaii who don't live here. And so we're going to make sure that we do everything that meets constitutional muster to ensure that there's no discrimination, but achieves our objectives. And that's all I have. So if anyone has any questions, just let me know.
Council member, thank you so very much. Members, any questions for the council member? Kuike?
I just want to start off with a comment. Council member, mahalo for all your work. Mahalo for the report. I appreciate everything. I'm just going to put on my Office of Hawaiian Affairs hat. We 100% backed and supported the transfer of the AINA and Kalahel from the city and county over to DHHL. So mahalo for that. Yeah, housing is an issue, especially for Native Hawaiians. So here's my question. How can this body further our support for all of the priorities that you have, that you just mentioned in your report?
The Waimanalo Neighborhood Board, you know, first of all, you did help because members of the community supported the hearings, and I greatly appreciate it because it was bumpy for me. And when I went to the Kailua Neighborhood Board, I wasn't scared, but had plenty of people there calling me out. And I'm thinking, calling me out for what? I'm not doing nothing wrong. And I ensured that there was due diligence provisions. On the ag, I guess I just want to make sure you have a lot of farmers here, but we don't all know the answers. And in trying to seek the right balance, for example, on agritourism, I don't think you need to worry about beekeeping anymore. But on the agritourism, we had a just big discussion today. Should there be parameters or not? And I think there should be parameters. So that's where I need your help. Once my amendments are going to be crafted for next Friday. Okay. So we're going to get pushback. And there's a lot of the big players, of course, who don't want any parameters. But in my mind, I'm thinking, how can that be consistent with the mission of agriculture production, right? Agricultural production, right? which is the primary function of agricultural lands? It's agricultural production, not weddings. So
Correct.
I might need some help on that. And then the taxes, I think we're okay. But I won't shy away if I need cocoa on other efforts. So greatly appreciate it, and greatly appreciate both OHA as well as the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement helping us, because sometimes for something that big, people don't just say, oh, how can I help? Yeah. But it's okay, because I've been in the trenches a long time. And so at the end of the day, we just got to do it. I need to let you know what it has spurred. I had a landowner in Kaneohe who saw what we did, because we're not going to take away from the character of the neighborhood, and they are offering land. So what I'm hoping to do was what we did is going to spur creative ideas for the Hawaiian homelands in the state of Hawaii and the city to say, you know what? Why do we have to do the same thing over and over? Okay, it's not just about money being thrown at DHHL. How could we all collectively figure out, are these lands? Are there other lands? I'm going to say it again tonight. I believe that all of the lands for the state Department of Agriculture here in Waimanalo should be transferred to the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, because we have an agricultural program. I believe that the Department of Land and Natural Resources, in divesting itself of agriculturally zoned lands, should actually give that to the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, because 30% of their land trust is conservation lands. Go figure. Okay? Slopes of Mauna Kea. The ridge lines of Waimanalo. Switch it. Don't cost any money. Right? Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox, but thank you guys, and I'm just here to support the community.
Mahalo, Councilmember. I do acknowledge that we could probably talk all night, gang. We are at 9:16, so let's keep moving. If there are questions from anyone on the public or on our board, please put it in the chat. I'll be sure to get that over to the respective departments. We're going to move on to our state senator, Chris Lee. Senator Lee, thanks for your patience. We look forward to your update.
Hey, thanks a lot. Really just want to talk about two things. First was just a big mahalo to everyone at Blanche Pope, Representative Martin, myself, and Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke were there a couple days ago, reading to the kids and then distributing backpacks. And it was just a really nice way to connect again. That said, the thing that I really want to dive into, which kind of overlaps with some of the conversation about cookie frogs and everything else we were having already, was really about what to do in the long run about LFA and cookie and everything else that's kind of out there and stuff that's probably yet to come. This past week, I went with a handful of our Senate colleagues, as well as Department of Agriculture and a few other folks, to New Zealand to take a look at how their country handles the same issues, because they've faced for a long time the same kinds of invasive pests coming in and causing all kinds of havoc. And what they've been able to do over the last 20 years is build up what is, I think, widely acknowledged and appears to be the world's strongest biosecurity program. And ultimately in Hawaii, we've known for a long time that it's going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars or more over coming decades to just manage what's coming into our shores, to say nothing of stuff that we just can't fight. For example, if we don't have a solid biocontrol or virus or something that can handle CRB, right, we just lose most of our palm trees and who knows what else. So the question becomes, how do we not only tackle what's here now and respond appropriately, but how do we prevent all those things that are in our near future that are inevitably going to be coming to our shores and costing us crazy amounts of money to just fight and manage? And so the takeaway was the way New Zealand approaches things is they've built up a meaningful firewall around their islands. And so everything coming into the islands, all mail, all packages, all shipping containers, all people coming in through airports are screened. And at no point can you bring in something that is non-native that would be a problem for potentially contaminating or spreading things there that would cause the same problems as we're seeing with LFA and CRB here. And it's obviously a huge shift in approach, and it will take a lot of resources and probably a number of years to set up if that's the direction we decide to go in Hawaii. But it's a system that works, and it's a system that has kept all kinds of stuff from coming in recent years. And even when something does get through, for example, they don't have fruit flies, at least the ones that would cause problems for their whole ag sector in New Zealand. Over the last 3 years, a single fruit fly was found several different times. And when one fruit fly is found, there is an automatic 6-hour response where several hundred people are mobilized and go scout that area, shut down all the commerce and everything going in and out of that area immediately. And they do a massive purge of all the likely places that could be coming from with all the different trash and everything else. And it's true for each species, and they do it appropriately. But it is basically like a kind of terrorist event kind of response that is instituted. It's become kind of commonplace there now. So it's expected. The business community is bought in. The local residents are bought in. In fact, a lot of them are the volunteers who go out, who are trained by their invasive species and biocontrol or biosecurity agencies to be first responders. And so, long story short is, this is a decision we're going to have to make about how we proceed. I think there's general support from folks who had the opportunity to go down and talk with our peers and our agencies to try and figure out how we can learn some lessons from there and really move ahead. But ultimately, I think the consensus is it's going to be way cheaper and way easier, and ultimately will save a whole lot of local indigenous species that would otherwise be lost by taking next steps to figure out how we plan for the long term. So with that, let me stop and just happy to dive into any questions.
Senator, thank you so much. Members, quickly, any questions? Again, we can spend all night on this, but I do want to be mindful. So Lulu, and then Kuike.
Really quick, I appreciate what you're saying, Chris. My question is, did their governor cut the funding for invasive species like our governor has done? Or did they find a way to ensure that no governor cuts the funding to make sure that training, all this stuff that you discussed that they have now established there has been protected somehow? Because if you cut funding, how do you intend to do any of this?
Thank you, Lulu.
Yeah, without getting too far into the weeds on it, New Zealand is a parliamentary form of government, and it's just different in the way it operates. But suffice it to say, over the last couple of decades, there has been significant and consistent funding put into invasive species and biosecurity. And that's the only way they were able to achieve what they've been able to achieve. And that's ultimately, realistically, what it would take here is dedicated and consistent funding over time, much more than we're putting in now. But at the end of the day, it would probably save infinitely more trying to manage pests that otherwise we could screen out from even coming here in the first place.
Yeah, but how do you save money when the funds are being cut?
I mean, that comes down to we can get into a whole debate over that. I think suffice to say, I think I haven't talked to the governor myself, but talking with their staff and some other folks in some of the departments, I think everybody's on board with putting more resources into this. And for the upcoming legislative session, what we're working toward right now is trying to figure out really what's needed beyond the immediate response. First of all, what we need for immediate response, which sounds like a lot more resources for DLNR and a lot of the folks who are doing the work on the ground. But for the long run, it's going to take significantly more than that to set up all the new pieces of the puzzle that we need to actually ensure that we're successful.
Mahalo, Senator. Lulu, thank you for the comment. As Senator mentioned, we could go all night on this debate, and point taken. Lulu, Kuike.
Yes, mahalo, Chair. Mahalo, Senator, for your report. I just want to recognize and acknowledge that the reason why the level of biosecurity in Aotearoa is because of the kiwi industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry that also had investments from the private sector as well. Yeah. So one thing here in Hawaii is we need the political will. Yeah, I believe that there is the will of the communities there, but we need the political will. However, my question to you, Senator, is how are we addressing root causes here? As we identify CRB, LFA, yeah, brown tree snake, you know, much of the invasive species that have touched our shore is in jurisdictions that we know we don't control. There's tens of thousands of acres that we have zero control over. Yeah, and I hear you. I totally get it. We got to resource our administration. We got to resource, yeah, the DOA, the LNR. We got to resource the counties. We got to resource communities. But that's only putting Band-Aids on the problems. In the last year, there's been 2 possums and 1 skunk arrived over here ashore, Honolulu Harbor. What does that tell me? We need more resources for Department of Ag for inspectors. However, the greatest threat, the greatest bio threat has always been and will always be the military as long as they occupy Hawaii. So the root cause of all of this is air. Or the root solution to all of this is air. Sovereignty. How are we going to express that? Yes, we need money. But what we also need is to facilitate these conversations. So on the federal, state, county, community, yeah, we can develop conversations to steer the political will. And I'm there with you, Senator. You let me know. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Kuike.
Yeah, for sure.
I,
It's going to take a coordinated effort, and we're going to need cooperation from the military and other folks that aren't directly in our complete control. That's the only way it's going to work.
Yeah, I appreciate that very diplomatic response, Senator. I think we are beyond cooperation. We need to assert that they need to. And I think that's where our community frustration, as you can imagine, is. And so while I appreciate you in your position, as I shared prior, our current space, we don't have the balls to do it. And so we need to ship a lot of things up and move up. And, I know you and I have had some discussion on that. And so I appreciate however you decide to push this community's voice forward in those spaces. We will be right there to fight for this because it is important. Ted Ralston, last comment, and then Senator, I have 2 more follow-ups for you before we move on.
Yeah, just a point to tailgate on what Kuike said. I believe about 20 years ago, Aotearoa created some areas that have the rights of a person. So the land, the area, the valley, Waimanalo, for example, has the rights of a person. So the land can hire counsel. The land can defend itself because it has that right.
Thanks, Ted. Joe?
Aloha, everyone. Joe Watt. I had 2 very brief questions. One of them is for the senator, and I was wondering if the state budget is the only funding mechanism available to HDOA, or if they should also be pursuing federal funds in order to accomplish these goals. And then the next question is whether for Sharon, I think, which is, does HDOA inspect any military cargo or incoming military ships? Thank you.
Mahalo, Joe. Senator, do you want to take the first half of that?
Sure. In short, the state budget is not the only source of revenue. There's while a lot of it flows through the state budget, yeah, there is federal funding available, there is private funding, and there's also fees and a whole bunch of other things that all kind of come together, which can be applied. So there's multiple angles on that.
How can we encourage HDOA to apply for those USDA grants for invasive species?
I'll defer to them because I'm not sure what the what scope of that is being looked at right now. I do know, I can't say for sure that there's a lot of climate money at the federal level that is currently not being fully taken advantage of by just the state in general. So there are other resources out there that we can probably bring to bear. But the biggest thing is, and this goes back to Camino's point, I think, right? In our community, if we are aligned and vocal about this being a priority issue, then even on the state side, just in our own appropriations and our own budget, we can put more resources forward. And even if, for example, folks don't trust that DOA is going to be there to take it down, or money's getting vetoed out of that budget, then let's give it to DLNR. Let's give it to whoever's going to use it most effectively to actually solve the problem.
Appreciate that. If we can defer the answer to your later part. Mahalo, Senator. I just had 3 things that I wanted to know. Yeah, I appreciate you folks taking a team down to Blanche Pope. I'm just curious if you folks read to our Kayapuni as well.
Yeah, actually, that was the focus.
And you guys read in Olelo?
Both, yeah.
Okay.
Granted, they were preschool books, so it wasn't the most lengthy reading, but totally worthwhile.
I appreciate the effort there to recognize that our Kayapuni needs that support. And so mahalo nui a kako. Yeah, no kela helu ana. Mahalo for that. Second to that point, did the Office of the Lieutenant Governor check in with the Family Resource Center before distributing backpacks? Is that the greatest need identified by that school?
I can't speak for their office, but I know there was a lot of coordination with the school beforehand.
I appreciate that. I'll follow up on that. The last thing, Senator, we need some help with on this is California's Department of Food and Agriculture Waimanalo facility. This has been a Fruit Fly facility located in our community for years, decades, and there has been no conversation about what they do, how they serve, the impacts that our community is living with from there. And I'm just curious, either from the director, from Chair Hurd here, or for you, how do we start a conversation there? I have, and I'm happy to share, a lived experience documenting a lived experience of one of our community members that highlights many, many years of important information that has not yet been heard, I think, maybe to the point of concern. And so this Fruit Fly facility has a history, and it's not a good one. And so their use of property and agricultural land here in our community is scary. The reality of how close in proximity this particular facility is to our conservation district draws a question to the Department of Ag's ability and the Department of Land and Natural Resources ability to safeguard our conservation spaces. There is no buffer. And we see that with coqui frogs. And so I do want to see, Senator, if we might be able to schedule in perhaps a site visit for our community with our elected officials. We need to know what they're doing because there is impacts that are being felt by the community surrounding them, and they've lived in silence for various reasons. And I appreciate their want to come forward, but also the anonymous nature of this. I think that's also something that we want to respect. They have come forth to us with needs, and we need to figure out what is going on, especially specifically around the solid waste that is taking place from that facility. And so I don't know if that's something that's along your lines, Chris, or if that's something we can partner on, but I'd love to be able to get us a site visit to that facility and see how they're serving Hawaii first, because we're talking about biocontrols. I mean, it's ridiculous to have something growing it for us over here. So those are just the 3 comments, Chris, if I might just add. I appreciate it.
Can follow up on that. And I've never known any of our departments with local resources or land or operations to have not wanted to share what they're doing. So I imagine that would be totally possible.
Love it. I appreciate the positivity in that. We look forward to that invitation. Okay, gang, we're going to move on, and I apologize ahead of time for our delay. But we're going to move on to State Representative Lisa Martin. Hearing and seeing none, we're going to continue on.
Sorry. I'm not that quick.
Sorry. Rep. Martin, please. I'm so sorry, I did not see you.
That's okay. Aloha. So I just wanted to answer one of the questions that you had posed to me last time about Mackay Pier and access for fishermen. So I spoke with the to get the update, and basically the RFP for the repairs went out 5 months ago, and it was given to C Engineering, who's one of the current tenants, but I understand they're not going to stay as a tenant. They're actually moving to a Honolulu location, but they still, that's what they do is ocean-based stuff. So they're going to do the project. They're to do everything that was asked for. their bid came in at way over budget. So they had to go through the components and prioritize. The CIP was 5.5 million. And in the priorities was not included the demolition and removal of the Hurl building. And the reason that they don't allow fishing, which you may already know, but I did not know, was because of concerns that the Hurl building, which is falling apart, bits are loose, and if there's strong winds, they can fall off and possibly hit people. So in order, even with all that $5.5 million repair, it would still not be open to fishing. So what we spoke to try to solve the problem, they said that they could add in to the same permit, or try to, right? Nothing's done until it's done, but they could try to add into the current permit that is being applied for the rest of the repairs, also demolition of that building, and that would be an extra $500,000. And then I would have to, or as a team, Chris and I would have to get a CIP this coming session to cover that extra cost, and they can try to add it to the existing contract and the existing permit so that there is no extra delay. But even if all of that works, it will not be done till probably mid-2026 if everything went perfectly. So that's my update on that one. And then you had also asked about Army Corps of Engineering projects, and I did inquire, and if I didn't email you the final list I got, I'm going to do it right now. I just remembered. So there haven't been a lot of projects in Waimanalo. One of them was the flood control study that I had asked for. And there's just 2 others. So I just emailed you those. So there's not a lot, but at least we know what has happened so far. And I did request a follow-up to that initial flood control study. And that is not yet funded, but it is still alive in the works. And with that, I'm here for any questions. And I just also wanted to mention that, yes, I did read the story in Olelo. I've been training for a long time for that moment.
Mahalo maki'ile.
I have to say, Maki'ile didn't help me. She speaks too fast. She doesn't know how to come down to my level. And I do also
Representative, I
want
do
to
want to
mention
extend the
on
same
that,
heartfelt appreciation that you made the time and effort to read to our keiki in their native language.
yeah,
That speaks volumes to our hearts. I just want to make sure that I say that out loud. Yeah, that is critical for us to reestablish our relationship to place. And so to
yeah.
have elected officials take the energy, the need, the time, the resources to put that effort forth into our keiki is very admired and appreciated. Questions for the
I did want to mention also, because Maki'ile has been working for this district for a year and a half. She's now gone to work at OHA, where we wish her all the best. And in some ways, it is an upgrade for her. So congratulations to her. But we will miss her very much. And I just wanted to appreciate all that she has done for our district, including just helping individual constituents with a lot of enthusiasm and patience. And so I do appreciate that. And I'm sorry to have lost her from my office.
Absolutely. We agree. Members, any quick questions for the representative?
Chair.
Kuike.
Mahalo, Chair. Mahalo, Representative. Just a quick question. Who holds title to the Makai Pier? What department?
I believe it's DLNR.
Okay, Mahalo. Can we get that verified and then just for next month's report? Yeah, and then if you can please provide us the language in the current permit, and then whatever future.
They're applying for a permit still yet. So they're still applying for a permit to do the repairs listed, but I can at least get the scope of work for you.
Okay, and then is there like a MOA or a certificate of occupancy for the Mackay Pier currently? Like what's
There's
the what does that look like?
there's a lease. I think it's being leased to UH, maybe?
That's correct.
Mahalo,
Yeah, I
can
think
you
it's,
please provide us that language as well next month?
I can
Or
try, I can request those documents.
I appreciate it because I know for a fact that Mauka across the street, that's also DLNR, OI as well as Sea Life Park. And I believe for the past 4 years, HPU hasn't been able to secure a lease with DLNR. So they're currently occupying and potentially under a month-to-month lease or understanding, which it really, you know, the Mackay Pier has been cut off access to the Native Hawaiian community since the fall of 2019. It was specifically Christmas Day of 2019. And since then, we haven't been able to access these spaces in the ways that we historically did. So as much information that you can provide for us here at the neighborhood board, I mean, I think we can begin to have deeper conversations and figure out what we can do as far as strategy-wise moving forward and how we can encourage people to be good neighbors in our community. So mahalo again, Representative. Chair, back to you.
Mahalo nui. Seeing no other hands, we're going to thank the representative for making time this evening on the reschedule, and we look forward to continuing to work with you. Mahalo
Okay,
nui.
mahalo, aloha.
We're going to move to Governor Josh Green's office, and then I just want to acknowledge that our representative, Tokuta's representative, had to leave us this evening, but did note questions about the DoD funds and addressing some of that with the office. So we'll forward any other conversations that need to be taken up by the Congresswoman's office to her. So
Chair, board,
Thank
members
you.
from the audience and online, on behalf of Governor Josh Green and for Anthony, who couldn't be here tonight, the report is actually online, right? So there's a couple of links here that would be more useful for this report. And the first thing on the item is the State of Hawaii Health and Social Services Job Fair that was held in August. The intent, the focus of that job fair was to recruit registered nurses, social workers, human services professionals, and social service aides and assistants. If you were at that job fair, if you're interested in one of those positions, go to the interested applicants may go to the website, and the link is there right on the your website. The DHERD recruiting events and upcoming job fairs are also listed there. So again, click on that link. The other item, and actually it's the last item on the governor's report, is that Hawaii receives a green light for Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment Program, which the acronym is BEAD. The National Telecommunications and Information Administration offered this opportunity for BEAD, excuse me. And this was approved and allows Hawaii to apply for funding to begin implementation on the program. There's a link there to find out more about the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program. The funding, Hawaii could be allocated $149 million. So if you are interested, please go to the website and click on that link. And that's pretty much the governor's report. Thank you.
Mahalo for that. Would you appreciate? We'd appreciate if you'd answer Joe's previous question at this
Yeah,
time.
sure, Joe. The Department of Agriculture is the only state agency that can receive many of the USDA grants. It's pretty much earmarked for the Department of Agriculture statewide. And currently we have 17 recurring grants that we continue to apply for, which is only a fraction of, pretty much to your point, what we possibly could because of manpower and staffing. We also go after every block grant we can. The micro grants for food security you're familiar with, especially crop block grant program. So we take full advantage of the ones that are low-hanging fruit, but we're limited by the supply chain for grants, as every government agency knows. When you get a grant, you get the grant, but the work doesn't begin until you're starting to implement it. So you're creating a backlog for the fiscal office, And the state level, you have FAMS, the Office of Federal Awards Management. They have to close out some of these major grants. So we do apply for grants, and we apply for as many as we can. 17 recurring is a pretty good number for our agency. The one that is most recent, one that you might be interested, because somebody asked the question if we inspect military. We do. And they actually provided us with $375,000 and dogs. And so what we do is we use that to maintain the dogs and keep them well kept, you know, in a nice, comfortable place to stay. And so $375,000, and we use that to check their planes. And because the military planes, and not only military, but commercial aircraft that come in from Guam, they usually don't come in at the 9 to 5 timeframe. So the $375,000 helps pay for our overtime for our staff when they have to go out and check. So yes, we have found some BTS, but we got them, you know, and we're doing a pretty good job considering. So did
Just
that
those
answer?
that are listening, BTS, brown tree snake.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Brown
tree
trees,
snakes.
yeah.
Joe, anything further you need to ask of the department? Come up to the mic. Thank you.
I was just thinking on the scale of when the governor line item vetoed the $20 million to $10 million, I was thinking about something of a similar scales. If that is if a $10 million swing is impactful in the services that we as communities are receiving, I was wondering whether or not there are USDA grants of like in the millions of dollars scale. I think the $375,000 is great, but I feel like what Senator Lee was talking about was like hundreds of millions of dollars.
Good point, Joe. What the legislature 2024 legislatures did for us was they authorized a grant writer position. We had been asking for a grant writer position for a number of years. I personally had been asking for a grant writer position, and they gave it to us. So the grant writer should be ready to go established. I hate to, you know, we're going to try for October where we can get that person in there, and then we can go after those $1 million ones. But what we're going to ask the grant writer is when you get these grants, when you go after these grants in the NOFO, you know, the Notice of Funding Opportunity, look for those grants that have a large administrative fee section. Some grants allow up to 25% because of the problem I said before. We don't have the manpower to administer these grants through the process. So what we're going to do is go for these grants that have large administrative fees. And then what we're going to do is use that amount to actually maybe get some outside help to help us with the check writing and the reporting and on and on. And we're going to get it cleared by the, you know, the HEA. We know they're union jobs, but when we cannot handle the work that's being, you know, when we want to get all the money, and then when you can't handle the flow through, that's going to create a problem. So, right? So what we're trying to do is get the money, but be cognizant of the fact that there are some grants that allow administrative fees. So we're going to go after those. And I had something else to say. Oh, the positions, the 10 million. We're very, very happy, Joe, to get 10 million. It's more than we've ever had. And the nice thing was we were given the opportunity by the administration to actually determine how we're going to take the cuts. And we had 3 million for CRB and green waste and compost reimbursement. We kept 2.4 of that. So we have the money to do the work, and we have 20 positions. The other nice thing is we kept all 44 positions that were on the bill. Thank you. All 44 positions were kept. What we did with that is we staggered the hiring dates so that we can still keep all 44, but we'll hire them after the second, third, and fourth quarter. 20 inspector positions. I think it was the Senator, Chris Lee, that asked, how are we going to keep the state safe? We have 20 additional inspector positions. And when we do a good job, and when we can prove to the legislature and the governor and the state of Hawaii that, you know, we're going to use this money really, really smartly. We're going to make a difference. We're going to get more positions. We'll be back. We'll be back in 2025. we'll ask for the other 10 or maybe the other 20. So what, 250? 50, okay, 50. So
Mahalo for the responses. I appreciate, I wish we had more time to go through the conversations, and I want to just recognize that your staff is online as well, Jonathan Ho. We've requested that the Department of Ag provide updates, and, as enthusiastic as you are about this 10 million, we needed 600 people in that forest 10 years ago. We are not satisfied that funding is happening fast enough and that work is happening fast enough. And I know you understand our sentiments, and we're going to continue to be the thorn in the side of the Department of Ag, because these overlapping, every single day that passes, coqui frogs move farther and farther into our community and watershed. Thank you. Every day that passes where action are not taken, little fire ants are moving across our community, coconut rhinoceros beetles are destroying our habitats. And so I wish I could share the same excitement that you share, Chair Hurd, this evening with that, and I don't. And so we need more. We need more from the Department of Ag. We need more from the agencies that you partner with. And if there are not agencies that are partnering, they need to get their ass to the table. We have to hold accountability here, and I apologize for the language, but our community is suffering from these things, right? An ecosystem collapsing is what we're talking about. It might be peaches and cream elsewhere, and that's their kuleana to battle for their community at the end of the day. We need more. And so I have sent, as you are aware, some information about what I recently experienced. And I can spend all night helping you recognize how important this is for us. And I don't know if you're going to get it, with all due respect.
before I'm going to get your message.
Our sentiments in the fullness of it. We're in a circumstance where our ecosystem, so delicate, Kalapueo was mentioned earlier. There is no chance in hell that a pueo today will actively be able to do its due diligence to hunt at night with the noise that is of coqui frogs. No chance. And so we're not even thinking that far ahead currently in the discussions. And respectfully, I just want to focus on that. So I don't know that the gravity of the circumstances are that real. I understand that there is work being done, and we need to keep it done. Spaces in between, and this is part of my concern, spaces in between inaction is problematic. And I'm at the point, I think, of desperation and simply saying, if I have to go up there weekly to catch frogs, to do my part as a community member, I will. Because in my honest opinion, and I'll just say this frankly, this gentleman here and myself have more experience than every single person on your team in that mountain. More years than every single person in your team currently addressing the issue.
Well, our team is pretty much nursery and
challenge them.
So you
We're
want us
born
to
and
go
raised to that.
partnering with DLNR because they're in charge of the, forest
Understand.
area.
And I know you're taking our bashing. So I just, our years of living in this community has approached. We're here because of that. Yeah, and if they can match that, great. Let's see the action. Because if we had to tomorrow, I assure you, we will have a community team tomorrow catching frogs in that forest. And that's just one coqui frog issue. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't need a response. I just need you to listen to us and to hear. And I don't mean to be disrespectful, because we've heard conversation time and time again, and we're celebrating the same inadequacies currently. And so there will be time that we should sit down together and think about action plans and talk to all these partners. We've asked our elected officials to do that on our behalf, our senator and our representative to pull together a team collaboratively to think about doing more. And I know that's a heavy ask. The results of the impacts are heavier than that ask. And so I just wanted to share that because it's heavy. It's heavy. Okay. So I appreciate you taking that feedback. Comment? Anyone else from the board for the Department of Ag?
Yes, Chair.
Please.
If I may make some comments, Chair, mahalo. Chair Hurd, just want to mahalo you for being
It's
present
coming.
tonight. No, I really do. And I understand, I mean, I'm very cognizant that your folks' budget is only 0.4% of the state's entire budget.
Less.
0.3.8. It's 0.3.8 actually. That's accurate. I beef them up. for those online. It's 0.3, 0.8. So I want to applaud you for your leadership and support in organizing and identifying the key partners in developing out a state farm bill. So I want to mahalo you for that.
Thank you.
I really
Thank you.
recognize, I was there day one when the words came out of your mouth saying, we need a farm bill. And I was there second time at the food system symposium when you said, oh, we're doing it. Yeah. And then I was also, so I'm tracking, right?
Okay.
I just want to mahalo you for that. So part of it, right? All of this, the management pieces, the capacity, bandwidth has to do with resourcing and finances. So my question to you, and it doesn't have to be answered tonight, how can we as the neighborhood board and our tiny little voice, yeah, support the Department of Ag, yeah, in, I wouldn't call it lobbying,
Well,
but I would say kicking in doors.
oh,
I don't have to step in, I just kick them. Right, to try and figure out how we can raise awareness and the political will amongst our legislatures to increase the 0.38 budget
Mhm.
of the Department of Ag to 1%.
I will get back to you, not tonight, but one of the quick answer is part of the funding that we got, the 10 million, is an RFP to the community engagement. Give us your best shot. Give us your proposals to fix within your community. We want to hear from you.
Perfect.
So that,
Primary crab leg will be there.
okay, yeah, thanks. And I'm going to send it to you guys personally. I wanted to shout out to Jonathan online, Jonathan Ho. He just came back from New Zealand and he's probably jet lagged, but he's online and he's the guy that accepted the 300, he wrote the proposal to the
Wow.
$375,000 and he got the money. And thank you, Jonathan.
Mahalo. And then, Chair, if you would entertain, I have one last comment for Madam Chair, Chair
Yeah.
Hurd, and our legislators listening in. The harm of today's invasive species that we're dealing with in the urbanized zones have yet to be assessed. And we understand the loss of all of our bird species. We understand the loss of our ecosystems. Yeah, 30, 40, 100, 150 years. We get records of that. But today's threat, CRB, yeah, the harm has yet to be assessed. And this blow is in fact one that we as a Native Hawaiian people, one that we as the Hawaiian culture may not be able to sustain. I've said this 3-4 years ago, right? When this community of Waimanalo first started seeing the traps hanging from our trees. We started asking questions, what's happening here? Why? So as we started to learn, yeah, I realized that the target of this species is our Kinolau Akua. It's the very identity, it's how we identify as cultural practitioners, is how we identify as Native Hawaiians. It's our Kinolau Akua. So the harm is yet to be assessed. I just want to encourage our legislators and lawmakers, yeah, realize this, that the fault and the burden lies on you. The very erasure of our people is in your hands. If we're going to argue back and forth every year, million here, 10 million there, 20 million here, 20 million there, that's not even going to amount to the potential litigations that you guys may face. I'll just park it here.
Mahalo.
Mahalo, Chair, for entertaining me. Chair Hurd, I appreciate you. Mahalo nui. I look forward to future conversations.
Mahalo Kuike. That's why I want to acknowledge that. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. And we do need to invite and continue the conversation. It is important and we need to continue to work. I recognize it being 9:58, gang. We do have several items that are still in the agenda. I'm going to ask that we defer them to the next meeting, which include the board business. Are there any objections?
No objections here, Chair.
Thank you. With that, can you close us off with Pule?
Hikino, are there any objections online?
I see none.
To deferring? Okay, mahalo nui. Chair, I appreciate the time, all of our audience. Hule kako au he oe kia ko nui na noi ho huli kalani me ka honua. Na no ka mana. E na kini a ko na au maku me na kupu no ko po me ke au. Ke alo nui o ko paka ia pau. E leo hea ki e hapa ine ia o ko na mea me ka mana. No ko alakai, no ko aloha, no ko malama ne mako ki a po ki mana kuka kama ilio no na pono no ki kai ulu o Waimanalo ne a ma o aku ki a ahupua o Waimanalo I ko kako wahila hui ko Hawaii pai aina me ke la e leo mihi ke ia oko e na kupuna na makua na kua ki a kua nui no ko mako lawe hala ana a me ke la hoi aku ia kako pakahia pau I ko kako wahi hale me ka pale kana. No ia kia mamea me ka mahalo me ka haa a me ke aloha. Ma kino o kauki ki ako kako kama. O ia suno a me ne mahalo kako.
Amene mahalo nui kako. Thank you guys for your time, patience, and service. We'll adjourn this meeting at 9:59 p.m. Mahalo nui, gang.